to the first day of the Rainbow Six Siege Canada Division. I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Kix and Intero. Oh my gosh, so much excitement this week with the U.S. Division. I'm so excited to see how the Canada Division plays out. Gentlemen, how are you feeling?
I feel
Kix?
great, Jackie. I don't know how Michael is doing, but I feel really good. Did I interrupt you? Should I?
No, you can go first. You go first.
It's the Canada show, so I feel I should say sorry.
True. I like your haircut, by the way. You look fabulous.
Thank you. Things just reopened in Toronto like literally 2 days ago, so I've been able to go out and cut the mop off because, my hair was a mess, so.
You're pretty vocal about that yesterday on the broadcast.
Yes, I learned how mute buttons work today. That was my sole job.
Oh, man. But Kix, how are you feeling? Liking Intero's haircut,
Yeah,
too?
I'm feeling good, and I am definitely digging the haircut. I think it looks great. The side fade is 10 out of 10 on him. But today, I'm pretty excited for these matches we've got. It's going to be a bit of a day of discovery, and I just can't wait to discover.
Yes, all of us feeling that way. And let's pull up the bracket very quickly and take a look at the 4 teams in the Canada Division. Squires, Nordik, the North, and Mirage. Those are some pretty epic names there, if I do say so myself. And again, Nordik versus Mirage today. So gentlemen, what can you tell us about today's matchup? Kind of like Kix was saying, a day of discovery. Don't know too much about them.
Well, today's matchup, as mentioned, will be Nordik versus Mirage. And starting with Mirage, they're probably the team that we know the most about in this entire division. You've got names like Flynn, Not Loading, and Zilchi. 3 of the more notable names in this overall division. Zilchi, for example, has some serious experience way back in, actually a while back in Flipside. And Flynn, I'm sure a lot of you know from his casting escapades. So that's Mirage. They're, again, one of our more known teams. Nordik, on the other hand, another squad that we're still waiting to figure some stuff out about. And, I mean, that's why we're here today.
Yeah, the one thing about Nordik that I will say is having casted the Canadian Nationals in the past, when we did it for Northern Arena, for Waveform, over the 2 different iterations that we had of the Canadian Nationals League, was that I recognize a lot of these names on Nordik from their competition, 2-3 years ago. These are people who've been around for quite a while. I see Storms on there, I see Bosak. I've casted them before in the Canada Nationals. So these are guys who've been kicking it for a while. They are not just a bunch of no-names that came together and, managed to scrap their way through. This is actually a team that has more experience than I think people are anticipating. And while Mirage is a much, more known quantity, I don't think that Nordik is coming in as much of an underdog as, fans of the Canada division might suspect.
Yeah, out of the 4 teams, these 2 are a bit more experienced than the other 2. So thank you so much for that insight, gentlemen. But we cannot wait to get this match started. So really quickly, we're going to take a short break. But first, some quick words from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to get things underway with our matchup here in the Canada division in just a moment. But before we get there, we don't want to withhold too much information from you. So we'll bring up the map bans, and we should be able to go through exactly where we won't be playing. Now, when you've got two teams like this, Michael, that don't have a ton of experience as a team and don't exactly have any footage on them, etc., how do you even begin to go about building a map pool, and how do you ensure that it's better than your opponents?
Well, so usually when you're at a high level of play, you get a lot of counter bans going on. You get a lot of counter picks. In this scenario, we're going to have primarily preference picks. It's going to be both teams probably just saying, okay, this is where we're more comfortable playing. We're going to try and direct ourselves there. And a lot less of this is where they're comfortable playing, because that knowledge doesn't exist. Or at least it exists, but not as rock solid as we're used to seeing with some other competitions. So probably a lot of, we like being here, we're going to try and direct ourselves there and hope that the enemy team doesn't.
Now, as you can see here at the bottom of your screen, Oregon is going to be map number 1, Villa map number 2, and Cafe will be the ultimate decider. Now, the old Oregon used to have a bit of a reputation for being unpredictable. It was the map that good teams went to lose. And I don't know if you can say the same about it now that it's a bigger map. Obviously, it received a facelift just a couple seasons ago. It's refreshed, and with it, there's a new strategic element to the way that teams play on it. And honestly, it hasn't been anywhere near as chaotic as the old Oregon, as there's a lot more on the line with regards to which sites you go to and how you defend them. So let's waste no time at all and get into the very first map of the very first matchup here in the Canadian division of the North American League. And Michael, it's Nordik starting on defense. They'll be banning first.
All right, let's see how this ban phase unfolds. We got some really interesting stuff going on in the in the US division. And Thatcher, the first ban here on attack. We've actually been seeing a lot of this in US division as well. Thatcher, an operator that I think if you get rid of him, it just opens up a lot of different ways of playing the game on defense. So it's not necessarily a crazy ban, but it is interesting to see that also holding here. With the Maverick gone along with the Thatcher, it's going to be really hard to open up some of these walls. We might see some Kali play as a result. She's made a lot more viable now that she's got that secondary SMG that's just so strong. It's almost a primary weapon. You can work some magic with that thing. And then we'll have Mira banned out as well. An operator that hasn't been getting banned a lot lately. We've been seeing Mira actually played more often than not, at least in the US division. So it's interesting to see her still getting banned here in the Canadian division. Final ban will be Valkyrie, which is a pretty expected one. Another information operator, and an operator that I think across the board has seen more frequent bans.
Yeah, this is pretty standard stuff from what we see out of the bans. Nothing really weird on Oregon. We don't have the greatest, knowledge or vision of this map because it's only been played a very small handful of times. So just as we saw when Cafe Dostoevsky was put into the map pool after its rework, just as we saw after Clubhouse was put back in after it got tinkered with, there's going to be a difference of how teams go about attacking and defending because the meta isn't settled. There's no rhythm or routine that's settled. So expect teams to approach it completely differently. Even just earlier today in EU, we saw an Amaru get brought on Oregon, and we saw Amaru get brought on Oregon yesterday, in the Dark Zero matchup against the Sonics, and it obviously didn't pay dividends. So expect to see some zaniness and some craziness out of these teams because there is nothing settled as to how best to defend certain bomb sites and go about taking map control for others.
Speaking of, we've got an interesting bomb site right off the bat. It's going to be Kitchen Meeting here for Nordik, their first site. This, I think, is an underrated site by many people's account on Oregon. There's definitely a lot of strength to be found here. Some powerful bottlenecks if you can control them as a defensive team. For example, the pressure from tower could be funneled directly into that doorway you see right underneath the camera. And it's hard to open up that wall, which is electrocuted right now, thanks to the Kaid. There's a Maverick and a Thatcher ban, so it'll be on the Kali to get that open, or to help Thermite get it open. assuming that is the plan for Mirage.
I mean, she's a great operator to bring if you're going to be attacking long lines of sight as well. And Oregon has plenty of those, so don't be too surprised if you see her engaging from a far enough distance away. Loading is the sole American on this team, and because of that, well, he's also the IGL because, you know those Americans, Michael. But no, if for those that are unfamiliar, Loading goes by Not Loading. He's been around the scene for quite a while, and this is already an unfortunate mistake being made. Zilchi drops off of the roof accidentally. He'll get reset and brought back to 20 HP. Not what you want to see starting off with.
Yeah, not a great start there for Zilchi and for Mirage as a whole. They also have spent a minute trying to get tower control and have yet to open up the attic. And they'll... Oh, Flynn probably could have canceled that, but he maybe started a little bit too early. That's interesting. Because of that, he'll lose his first exothermic. Second Kali goes on, and it's clearly not placed anywhere where the Kali is going to be able to get it. It's probably placed below, and yeah, it's actually in the floorboards. That's just been droned out. But tons of utility spent here already. The last Kali charge will be used. It will finally get the Electric Claw. Meanwhile, Storms is going to get the first kill of the series. That's one for Nordik, and down goes QRTZ.
That's Quartz that's removed. So congratulations to Storms getting the very first kill in the history of the Canadian division, or the Canada division here in the US League. Still haven't really seen all that much from this Kali brought to the table. The greater issue that they're going to have with her is that her gadget is exceptional at being able to take out castle barricades and deployable shields, but it was wasted earlier on, if you recall. That's another kill coming in for Nordics. It's on Zilchi, who'd been dropped to 20 HP earlier. Unsurprising to see what little was left of him get taken out, but the thing is, if you're Mirage, you haven't really gained any significant ground. Where are you going to bother to attack from now? 40 seconds left. You don't exactly have a wealth of time. And Mirage is stacked up over on the north side of the building by Big Tower. So they're going to have to head towards the kitchen. They have control, though, and in comes Loading. Goodbye to S4. And kitchen control is exactly theirs. Trying to isolate somebody coming out of meeting hall. My goodness, that's a missed opportunity from Nordics. They could have very easily stopped Flynn on the plant, but he gets his very first kill on Disguise. Bozak is down Loading with 3 kills and a push-up from Storms. He got the very first kill from his team. He'll hit an air jab, his position given away, and he gets sniped. Shot to the heart. What a beautiful shot from Loading. We'll see it in the replay here. Mirage will take their very first round, despite it looking like Nordic was going to be able to hang on.
And Loading's to blame. That's a 4K from a Kali. Beautiful job to Loading. I think 3 kills with the sidearm SMG and whipping out that primary for the final one. I mean, who says a Kali can't be a fragging operator? Nobody in this match, that's for sure. Well played to Loading. It took him a while to get that wall open with his teammates, but actually, I don't even know if they did get it open, to be honest with you guys. But it didn't matter. In the end, when Mirage went for the frags, they sure got him, or at least Loading did. Nice attack there onto the kitchen specifically. I like the ability of Mirage to divert their attack strategy. It seemed like they were going to prioritize meeting, trying to get open up both those walls, the one in attic and the one in meeting itself. But after the first exothermic was lost and after all those Kali charges were wasted, they decided, okay, we're just going to go for the kills. That worked out. Good adjustment. Many other teams would just open up attic and then be like, okay, what do we do now? So, well done to Mirage with a good read. Whoever made that shot call. It was probably Flynn. I know he's the team captain. I don't know if he's the IGL, but it's certainly possible.
No, the IGL is not Loading on this team.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the sole American, as you mentioned earlier. Well, good call from him. Mirage in a good position here after that first round, but they haven't taken it all yet. We'll go on to a much more conventional attack. It's going to be the bottom floor here for Nordik.
This is where I think things are going to get a little interesting. There's been some debate over the role of Goyo now that he lost one of those shields. And of course, the TCSG nerf doesn't help at all. So that's why you've seen a number of different operators running that vector. It was a cheeky angle being held from Bozak, waiting to see if somebody would possibly attack up top. But no, he's off to the races down below. No, he's going to keep going back. So Bozak is just going to keep fighting in the same area. A drone goes in and immediately mute jammed. That's not where you want to be if you're the Kali. A lot of mute jammers, or a lot of drones actually being worked down from those mute jammers above. It's a bit of a late setup. 45 seconds in, you can see that Nordik are now a little bit more aware of the positioning of Mirage. Instead of actually aggressively holding that spot, they fall off, losing the hatch above. That just leads to the entrance of Laundry.
This is interesting. We don't really see main lobby takes all that much, and they've kind of fallen out of favor after they reworked this area. You can't plant in that entryway. You got to go deep into the A bomb site, so a lot more control is necessary than it was in the past, in the old Oregon. Over by Freezer, C4 will be lobbed and missed. That's unfortunate for Bozak. He will down Flynn. No kill is marked, and Flynn will get back up and into the action. Bozak's going to fall back. I think that's the right call. There are 3 attackers to confront him inside of Freezer, and he can just hold this hard 90 angle. The objective seems to be opening up the Freezer wall. That's going to cut off the angles for the A bomb site. Defense will be pushed off of it, and then Mirage could go for a plant inside of A. But actually, no. I guess I'm wrong. Flynn is going to open up the drop down in Freezer, lest he will not be able to open up the A wall. That's an interesting choice of his hard destruction, and it will make the actual execution onto the site more difficult.
It's good coverage, though, from Mirage in the way that they're holding. Nordik hasn't blinked, so their patience so far has not resulted in any duels where they could lose all that much. The damage that was done earlier to Flynn was from that Nitro cell, as you pointed out. And they'll just continue to creep up on Mirage's side over towards the Freezer door. The Goyo gets caught in a bad rotate. Quartz with the kill, and he'll start things off in this round, as I'm sure we'll see the tempo continue to increase, given that there's not a lot of time left on the clock. But that's on the shoulders of Mirage. The C4 tossed out from Nordik. It'll go off on the doorway, deal significant damage to Zilchi, but not net a kill. Frag grenade goes in, pushes Skies in towards the laundry supply room. 2 kills from Lackey. Excellent play from him. And it's Nordik dominating the kill feed, with just Silent in a 1v4, but he'll go nowhere. 5 unanswered kills from Nordik despite surrendering that opening pick to Mirage, and we're up 1-1.
The real flaw there for the attack was their use of hard destruction. Opening up the drop down in security above Freezer was wasteful, unnecessary, and accomplished nothing. The defense at that moment had already fallen off of Freezer, and that could have been established by just taking a second to drone. I'm not sure if they actually even detonated that exothermic, but I saw Flynn place it, so it's possible that he maybe just didn't pick it up. The solution to that round certainly would have been opening up the A wall. That would have pushed the Jaeger off of the A bomb, and it would have nullified some of the angle play from deep in Laundry, allowing the push to come from the main stairs, which was the initial focus for Mirage. Unfortunately, that wall did not get opened up, and, well, bottleneck after bottleneck, those fights are going to go the way of the defense. Nordik take their first round off of that simple angle play. It's Mirage is not, I guess, elaborating on the angle play. They're not evolving the angle play, whatever you want to call it. They aren't trying to make it their own. They aren't trying to push it so that Nordik have to confront new things. And that made it really hard for the attack to win any gunfights. That's really all there is to it.
One thing that we're going to see a lot of is just the slugfest between teams as they still hash out where they want to go in this map. And, it was something touched upon when we were going through the map veto, map pick ban system as well. At the beginning was teams aren't necessarily going to have like a defined meta on these maps. Some maps are going to play a little bit more, predictably, others won't. We have Villa and Cafe awaiting us as the next 2 maps. We might not need Cafe, but Villa is likely going to be quite structured. We have seen Villa get really ugly and lack a lot of strategy at the top end, but it's few and far between that teams approach it in that direction. And I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But so far, Oregon strikes me as a map that unpredictability can work better than it can on a map like Cafe or a map like Villa, but that doesn't mean that the teams need to be unpredictable. I think that previous round, Mirage had some significant difficulties figuring out where the weakness was on Nordick's defense. And coordination on Mirage's side hasn't been the strongest. I mean, go back to round number 1. They missed the Electric Claw that was put in, or rather only got one of the Electric Claws, because I think Storms actually used both of his gadgets on the same wall. They needed to get both of them, and they hadn't figured that one out yet. That's a tough spot to be in if you're Mirage, because that single mistake means that you can't get the pressure from the hard breach that you want.
I like this adjustment on the attack strategy from Mirage. Instead of trying to go for a tower take, which didn't work out great for them last time. Yes, they won the round, but they had to win it on a 4K from loading. They're going to go for something a little bit different. Clear out the top floor and come from the west. They'll get the first kill. That's Lackey gone. And with that entry, they will have the man advantage once again. Mirage have been here before, though. They need to get control over by the B bomb site, which seems to be their main focus right now. And Bozak upstairs is going to get the man himself loading. And that's going to be a lot less fragging potential the attack now has. Mirage just has opened a wall into B, and they'll be able to go for an entry here, but they've got to be wary of the drop above them and the angle being played by Storms, who's trying to hold on to this B bomb site. There's Storms, speaking of him, and he shall appear. 2 kills. That's a good start there for NDK on this entry. Going for the third, and he'll get it. Nope, correction. It was S4 to actually pick up that frag, and he'll get the last one as well. Nordik get their second round, and the attack adjustment for Mirage actually working against them.
A significantly better way to defend this time from Nordik, but a lot of that also came down to where we saw Mirage attack from. The very first round, same bomb site, we saw Mirage attack from back tower. They cleared it out, tried to take attic above, tried to take the back tower wall leading into the stage, couldn't do it, still just went for gunfights in the very final moments, pushing into meeting and then rotating towards kitchen. Fair enough. But I think Mirage outsmarted themselves on that round. They said, let's try it from a different angle. Instead, they decide to go through small tower and push that way, which is okay, but they never really cleared out the off-site from Nordik that was played upstairs, nor did they invest much time in meeting hall. It was way too, it was way too focused on one panel and one panel alone. And that to me is a smart play from Mirage to try something different, because if you're Nordik, you might be assuming that Mirage is going to go from the same angle. They're probably going to go from the back tower again. Sure, why not? Maybe catch Nordik off guard. But for yet another round, it just appears that Mirage stalled through the mid to later portion of the round. They got the opening pick. They did it in round number 2 as well, but then they couldn't capitalize on anybody else after that because they had essentially given their push away earlier on, and Nordik answered beautifully to just simply rotate and stare down the direction that Mirage was coming from.
I think what I'm seeing right now from Mirage in that last round, and this might sound counterintuitive, but it looks like Mirage... Well, I guess he doesn't need the ADS if he just dodges the grenades. Luckily for him, there's only one set. Anyway, the thing that I've been seeing from Mirage is they're taking their defense, their opponents a little too seriously. And by that I mean they aren't taking the control that Nordik hands to them. That needs to be corrected. Mirage needs to be more assertive with their play on the attacking side and just realize, okay, there's an opportunity for us to take what the enemy has given to us and seize upon that before that opportunity slips away. Now, in this round, it's a top floor defense, but we've got roamers downstairs. You can see Mirage is trying to deal with that. They're droning out the kitchen. Spotting the Jaeger of Lackey, who is playing behind the pillar inside of kitchen. Nade comes out. Lackey dodges. Easy dodge for him as he's not been cut off by his opponents. Another angle getting opened up here. This time they should be able to place the nade a little bit better. S4 is also here to assist, though, so you got to be aware of that. Skivs will get Quartz. It's a good pick there. And Nordik, the one starting off with the initial kill this time, but it's answered back quite swiftly as Lackey goes down inside of kitchen. S4 now has to deal with 2 angles, the hallway and the kitchen. It's not going to be easy for him to hold up against these stuns. At least he's got the Legion traps to assist, and oh, beautiful job from S4. Somehow trying to hold that angle.
How do you lose that? I can't believe that was a missed opportunity from Silent, and really a kill he should have gotten away with, even if he had a goo mine in his foot. Not sure, but at least it's traded back right away. So back to a 3v3. Nordik are looking to just sit pretty right now. This is the first time that we've seen this bomb site get played, and well, you've lost 2 crucial parts of your soft destruction, if not basically your entirety of your soft destruction, barring, the sniper rifle that comes in the hands of loading. That's about it. For the rest, you look at Nordik and the way that they're going to hold on to this one, Michael. This is upstairs kid storms. It functions the same way where you just need to hold a couple angles, and there's not a lot of ways that the attackers can catch you in a crossfire. This is the old Oregon still reigning supreme. One kill for Nordics, and then another for Mirage. Back to a 2v2. Control of Games Room. That's the old generator spot. Somebody from Nordics will have to push out. Falling off the plant is the Thermite. Once again, traded to a 1v1. It's Loading versus Bozak, but he needs to pick the right corner. There it is. Loading gets the kill, and back to a tie game we go. Final seconds. These two teams could not shake each other, and all the trading out in the world isn't going to do you good if you've still got one member remaining. Mirage takes the round.
Loading has been clutching up with that Kali secondary, that SMG, really pulling weight for his team. And you can look at that reflected on the scoreboard. Well done to him, IGLing and fragging. It'll be a bottom floor defense for the next round. See how that one goes. It worked pretty well for Nordic last time, but I suspect that has something to do with the fact that Mirage was not able to execute the strategy they wanted to. In that last round, the roam clear downstairs, while not fully successful for Mirage, was enough for them to build up momentum and to get control of the white staircase. From there, they rotated some players over towards Master, a masterful play, and good read from Loading. Call out for his team that pinch from white stairs and the game's wall could dismantle the remaining defenders in the bomb site, as they were correct in the end. It did come down to 1v1, but I think that was a good recovery from Mirage, and it could have been more confident of a round win had that Ash not lost the fight inside of security. I agree with you, Parker. As you mentioned at the time, it's a fight that really should have been won by the Ash. But,
yeah, that really should have been the first domino, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
10 seconds remaining.
But it's all said and done now, and we move on to that bottom floor defense. As mentioned earlier, Nordic going to be setting up inside of blue. Some teams just forfeit it, some teams try to hold on to it. Nordic's going to be one of the latter teams.
All right, well, I think this is the first time that you and I have casted Oregon.
To my recollection, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. For Skivs, his name used to be Skies, and I don't know if he changed it. Last time I cast him, it was SKYZ, if I remember. I don't know exactly what he wants from pronunciation here. I was under the impression that it was still just Skies, but I mean, there's another player named that, so not entirely certain. Anyway. Is that going to take care of the mute jammer that we just saw, or is that just simply to try and...
I think it was the mute jammer, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like he got the mute jammer as well. So back onto droning they'll go, and should be able to get that top hatch, unless there's going to be some mute juggling going on, which doesn't really happen, but if the mute jammer goes down and the exothermic charge isn't put down in time, it can stop it after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with it. It's very dangerous to juggle that. In this situation, I don't think I would, just because of how exposed he's going to be, right? So I think he's just accepted that it's going to be opened, and he's going to move on. Look at that, though. Quartz is going to get Bozak with a nice nade onto a Goyo shield, which will kill the Goyo. It was the nade that did the damage, though. Loading's getting to get a kill onto Lackey, and he misses a shot for a potential kill onto his second player. Skivs will be the one to land the C4, or Skies, depending on your pronunciation. And that's going to be Loading, the star performer for Mirage, eliminated. Meanwhile, Storms also able to take down Silence. So, things shaping up here for both teams as we head to a 3-3, though this time, the A wall gets opened up, and that should make all the difference.
There's a lot of gun damage being done from inside of that freezer, but not as many kills as Mirage had hoped for, and Nordics will be able to continue to survive after that one. You've now got this split push that's going to be coming in from Mirage on either side of the bomb sites. Zilchi, still looking for his very first kill, is not on the scoreboard just yet, and if you're Flynn, you're going to have to put a lot of faith in Zilchi here because, well, Flynn is exposed as he gets this diffuser down. Sky's looking to rotate out. Zilchi can't get his first kill. He's having a rough day. That kill from Sky is going to put Flynn in a position where he needs to clutch, and he will not be able to do so at all. A 2v2 becomes a 2v0 in favor of Nordic, and they'll get the diffuser quite easily. They'll take the lead with it as well.
Two things there. One, Zilchi should have been putting those air jabs down way sooner into the round. Two, Flynn's angle play was poor. He decided to hold the angles where the air jabs were instead of trying to hold the angles where the air jabs weren't. There were many other options there, I think, for him. But really, Flynn should never have been put in that position. Silchi should not have been so close to him on the coverage. He could have air jabbed off the things that he was less likely to be successful in covering, and then just held a different angle from a different position, somewhere a little bit safer. So, not the greatest play when it comes to the site holds from Zilchi and Flynn, but, I mean, the strategy worked somewhat. Another big component of that strategy that didn't work out well for Mirage was the fact that they lost freezer control. After that, they didn't have the cutoff that they were bargaining for, the one that they put so much time and effort into. And, well, it really hurt their attack. It allowed for the rotation of the Kaid and the end of that round in the favor of Nordik. So, some adjustment necessary on that strategy, just a little bit, in where they're placing their manpower. And, well, see if Mirage will get another chance. In order to get back to that bomb site, we're going to have to go to overtime, so it's unlikely. For now, Nordik, on their last defensive round, will decide to go to the top floor. Now, this is a site that Mirage did manage to win on the last time they were attacking it. However, that was thanks to the clutch up from Loading, who is not only the star performer for his team, but across the board. Skivs close with 7 kills of his own, but not quite to Loading's 8.
Worth pointing out that it is still pronounced Skies. He just decided to change the style of it, so...
So it's Skies, but with 3 V's and a Z. Okay.
It's Zed, Michael.
3 V's and a Z. I don't mind either way. I'm not very invested.
I mean, it is the Canada division, so we will use our the correct English here. Michael.
I'm also English, so you know I can accept that. Just the way I was raised, Parker. I don't know. It's not an easy one to shake.
Well, anyway. This, like I said earlier, this Nordik team I think is going to surprise people because the casual viewer that hasn't really tuned in to the Canada division or any real Canadian national play likely look at the Mirage lineup and think, okay, Mirage is a decently sized org. They've got a lot of notable talent on it that people have likely heard of before. Loading, Zilchi, and Flynn are obviously the big three. But this Nordik team also put in a really good effort, and they went deep into the Canadian nationals times before. So they're well practiced, and they'll start off round number 6 with the very first kill. Now, they've taken quite a beating with Storms and Skies, both very low on HP, but you've managed to take out the sledge, and Quartz is gone from the action. That's not the spot that you want to be in for Mirage, who's looking to try to come back, but sidearm out, and Loading finds both Lackey and S4 down below. They're having a party inside of the freezer. And it's Loading who just freezes them in place. Skies answers back to a 3v3. It's a kid's dorm defense upstairs, and it's an advantage in favor of Mirage. That then goes and becomes an even between Nordik and Mirage at a 3v3.
Nice save. It's the Skivs, or sorry, the Skies. It's going to be hard not to read his name is what it's spelt out as. The Skies versus Loading show right now, as they have been the not only the star performers across the match, but over this round. Now, Skies is on low HP, so that's going to be a big risk. And after those angles get opened up by Loading, and now one getting opened up by Flynn, it's going to get even harder for Nordik to hold this out. Storms knows he has no choice but to go for an aggressive play, but it's not going to work for him. Loading will take down Bozak. Now it's just Skies in a 1v3. C4 will likely miss. It will, and he'll be pushed by Loading, who gets, I believe, his 12th kill. That's I want to say a 4K in that round for Loading. Impressive performance from him, and that SMG really is turning out to be the bane of Nordik's lineup.
The thing is absolutely slaying right now, as is Loaded. So he's got the good gun in his hands. He's now going to go on to defense with the rest of his team, and a stalemate through the first half puts us exactly where we started, Michael. So we are no closer to knowing who the victor is going to be than we were 6 rounds ago. One thing that we have been able to glean from Oregon is that there is a great deal of diversity with those bomb sites. You're no longer pinned to just going downstairs or upstairs. You've got that whole middle floor to play with. And a lot of the defenses that we saw from Nordik involved a very heavy roam. Whether you put somebody in meeting hall, whether you put somebody upstairs in attic, whether you've got them playing inside a freezer downstairs, it doesn't matter what bomb site it is. You can hold somebody on that first floor, the bottom floor, or the second floor. There's lots of flexibility here. And Mirage, for all their credit, they had some good performances and they had some good rounds. There were times where they really struggled to be able to drone out the defenders. They didn't know exactly what they were dealing with off-site. I look back to that one kitchen defense back in round number 3, where Mirage swapped how they were going to approach the site and then couldn't really determine where the defense was, and Nordik's responded masterfully by pivoting and looking towards where Mirage was coming from. So both of these teams seem to have some semblance of an understanding of the way that Oregon has played out. But that's on attack and defense. Attack for Mirage, defense for Nordics. You know it's a lot harder to attack. So will Nordics be better now that it's Mirage's defensive stead? That's the real question. And unsurprisingly, Mirage is going to roam down below while holding upstairs inside of kids' dorms. And they're still doing setup work and will likely continue to do setup work later into round number 7.
Yeah, this is a little bit late for Mirage, but I think they got it done just in time. Nordik, on the other hand, are going to be coming from the armory side, so it doesn't seem like they're keen on clearing out the roamers. There is one C4 in play here, that's Silent, but he does not seem to be in a position to C4 from below. He might be able to drop through attic to get a late C4 from below, but I don't know that that's necessarily his strat. So I don't think the bottom floor clear is too relevant. You can also see that the Collie and the Thermite have diverted to tower. They're going to likely try and open up the attic wall. And after they open up that attic wall, they can go for a push onto Silent. Now, Silent is going to Electroclaw juggle here. So it's really important that these Collie charges are placed correctly. Quartz is going to take down Storms. So that's a good start for Mirage. Down inside of meeting, the roam is working out. Now, this opening up of the attic wall will take some time. They have to figure out where the Electroclaw is placed before they start using the Collie charges. Otherwise, they'll run out. You could see that it's masterfully placed in the floor. That makes it really hard to hit it with a Collie charge. And the second one will miss. They didn't get the information before they made the attempt. And because of that, Nordik are having to once again divert their attack and change up what their strategy is. This does not bode well for Nordik, and it's really masterfully done by Silent and Mirage as a whole for the setup.
This looked eerily similar to what we saw Nordik do on their defense, which is you put both your Electroclaws over there. You know, or rather, in this case, there's only one Electroclaw because the other one is positioned over by that games room, which is where Generator used to be. But I believe we saw Nordik on defense put an Electroclaw in the floor to electrify the wall down below while also electrifying the wall above, because it is a circle, it is a radius, and then throwing another Electroclaw above it, requiring the Collie to expend more utility than the attackers want. Now, both teams at a 4v4, 40 seconds left, and Nordik are just going to have to essentially go for broke right here. The tracers from Quartz's gun gives away his position, and he gets really aggressive. I don't know if that was the play to do as he loses the fight to Skies. Zilchi taking out Lackey. Once again, back to a 3v3. These teams have been trading non-stop. S4 is down. That leaves Bozak in a 1v3, but he's finished off by Zilchi, who after this round has found his way onto the board. The lead is Mirage's on their very first defense.
First kill for Zilchi, that's big. He's finally contributing to the scoreboard, at the very least. Overall, in that round, though, really a lot of it just comes down to the fact that Nordik was unable to open up the wall. And yeah, they were doing the same exact thing with their Electroclaw. When Nordik was on defense, they were able to throw those Electroclaws in the floor. They understood how that was working. So I'm kind of surprised that they weren't able to find exactly where the Electroclaw was this round, or rather that last round, and then deal with it with the Collie charges. You do have to identify the exact spot of the Electroclaw. They tried to do that by droning and meeting, but because the floor under the Electroclaw wasn't fully opened up, they were unable to do so. So getting a drone into attic, that's a big ask. The best you can do is come from the window on the balcony, and Nordik didn't think to do that with their drone. Even if they had, there was a player playing by attics that could have shot the drone before it got the information it needed. So really, not an easy situation for Nordik on attack, but because they spent so much time in utility trying to get into tower, failed, and then started trying to attack from elsewhere, ultimately failed to open up a rotation hole inside of the master wall as well. They were kind of stuck in bottleneck pushes, and those are never fun. Those are always uncomfortable. It's one of the reasons we saw Mirage fail their attack onto the bottom floor the first time that they tried it. I mean, ultimately, they failed both times, but the first time specifically was due to those bottlenecks and the lack of hard destruction that came out. You can see just some drone hunting here from Quartz, but he'll fall back after he doesn't spot anything. And, you know, hurting that drone economy is something that I think is definitely under-discussed and undervalued for the competitive viewership, but you know, drones are incredibly important to keep track of. And, you know, if you're on a competitive team, what you'll often have is drone counting down from 10. You get your 1 kill on a drone, you call 9. You get 2, you call 8, and so on until you hit that all-important number 0 or close to it, because that'll limit the information the attacking team is able to gather.
I so desperately wanted to make fun of how counting works, but then I didn't want to undercut your point. So, oh, is that?
It's counting
10,
down.
You count down. Oh,
right,
10 to 0.
yeah.
Right, got a 10, 9, 8 comes
Wait, what
next.
just
Anyway.
happened? How did Storms get down?
I think that I think it was Silent. It was either Silent or Flynn played very aggressively on this peak. There's going to go a smoke, and Storms gets away with 1 HP. Goodness gracious. He'll sit with the remaining S members of Nordik, as funny enough, it's S4, Storms, and Skies all in the same position. They're waiting to push in. And there you go. The Kali will begin to try and work away at the wall. It hasn't been fully reinforced. What a play from Silent. That's deep down, and some bullet damage being done to that deployable shield. One from Flynn, and Nordik are struggling mightily to be able to take any kind of ground away from this Mirage defense.
Yeah, Nordik are really falling onto these defenses and struggling, as Mirage looked infinitely more comfortable on defense than they had on attack. The hard destruction, or lack thereof, is once again a big part of this, but really it's the angles that have been opened up by Mirage applying pressure to Nordik. They don't seem ready for it. Now, there's Bozak and Skies still alive. They're not able to make anything happen just yet. They've got a minute to do so. They don't have to panic. They can take these angles nice and slow. It's going to come down to a lot of gunfights. Bozak and Skies are both going to have to win individually.
Was that a 360 that I just saw right there? Excellent job. A masterful control of the mouse by Bozak. There you have it. Still a 2v5, 35 seconds left on the clock. Mirage must be just salivating right now. There goes a C4, and Bozak doesn't even try to shoot it, just falls away, knows that there's one in Freezer, but if he provokes a fight there, he'll get cut down from the long range at the end of the hallway. That's Zilchi that's prone. He's looking to continue to add to his tally. Deployable shield gone in smoke. Things go real south for Skies as he tries to head on out. Down goes Zilchi, but Loading another huge round. Oh my goodness, how many kills does Loading have? If we could bring up the scoreboard after this, because this has been his matchup so far. 2 in a row on defense for Mirage.
Like 15, 16, I want to say 15 kills for Loading. He's been on an absolute tear, as you mentioned, and it's 16. All right, one more. He's trying to one-up me, and he's done it. Congratulations to Loading for having a stellar match so far. It's not quite done yet. 2 more rounds necessary to lock this out for Mirage. But I just got to say, in that last round, wow, we had not just a better setup for Mirage, but a better understanding of how to solve the problems that Nordik were putting up. I love the way that the gas canister was pre-placed along with the Goyo shield being detonated. They came together in unison, which means there was no ground uncovered near default plant spot downstairs. That was a really good setup by Mirage, and you really got to hand it to them for stuff like that, because they definitely put thought into it ahead of time, and it hurt the last 2 attackers as they were unable to even try to plant that diffuser. Not to mention the C4 from Zilchi as well inside a Freezer. Well-placed C4 to deny opening up the wall. That made controlling the site much easier for his teammates. So across the board, smart tactical play from Mirage. And that's not even factoring in the early round where Mirage had their angle play on lock. You love to see it. Nordik are looking blindsided right now by the way Mirage are handling these defenses.
So I guess we have a bit of an answer to what I was asking at the start of round number 7, which is how well is Nordik going to fare on the harder side of a newer map, which is attacking. Newer map, newer team, attacking strats are probably one of the toughest things to be able to put together in comparison to what the defense are going to go through. So while what we saw from Nordik was strong on defense, it definitely looks like they're just ill-prepared to tackle what Mirage is now throwing at them. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that now as we move through round number 9. Unsurprisingly, it is a first floor defense down below in kitchen, and you're going to see a defense being held upstairs. It's just a weird animation as that drone jumps on by. Zilchi and Quartz are going to have each other's backs, and so I guess you've got some supporting fire if you need it. I don't think Nordik is particularly interested in tackling that part of the map just yet, so they've moved over to small towers. So isolate the roamers up top in kids, and then try to directly pressure in towards kitchen. It'll allow them to push through dining because the other bomb site, of course, is in meeting. So this is going to look very similar to what we saw at a Mirage's take on round number 3.
It certainly is. That west clear is actually an old strategy, interestingly. And it's just to deal with all of your potential roamers and push them against a wall so that you can then take the site. I don't think it's going to work as easily on the new organ, but we've been seeing it a couple times. It's nothing too crazy. It totally can work. It's just going to come much more down to those heads-up gunfights. And there's a lot more positions for the defense to actually have a fair chance at winning them. Now, the Jackal's going to be a big factor here, as he's able to scan the footprints of his opponents. I think it's going to be the Jaeger, of course, in attic. Oh my gosh, no way he loses. Oh no. Loading your top frag. You've got 16 kills. What was that?
Apparently they had issues with the servers, so I don't know if that is true, but I mean, you can see the icons. I mean, you can see the icon in the top right. That is the server icon, but
I believe it, yeah. Weird situation there for both players. Lots of bullets hitting the wall and not the enemy. But yeah, it could be the servers. Storms will also get Zilchi, so Mirage are starting to fall by the wayside. Nordik doing a great job picking up these kills. They have incurred a lot of damage, though, in the process. They're going to be easy to win gunfights against moving forward, though there's only 2 more players on Mirage to do just that. Down goes Skies. Nice angle play by Quartz, and he's going to get a second kill. Actually, this is suddenly looking very winnable for the defense, especially as Flynn takes down Bozak. This 2v5 is suddenly turned into a 2v2 with the last 20 seconds. The attack, one of them trying to plant, Lackey trying to cover. He's got a big job, and here comes the push. Well timed from Flynn, and he gets 1 kill. Not the second, though. That's for Quartz. A beautiful job by Mirage, and the 2v5 is successful. Terrible play from Nordik.
That is a rough one. Allowing Quartz to just run riot over your entire team, playing off the kitchen, and boy, did he really cook up something delicious for us to be able to munch down on. What a play from Quartz. He retreated towards meeting after getting a 2-piece inside a kitchen, backed up, waited for another. The one thing that was actively working against Nordik was all the skirmishes and the fights that they took earlier in the round left them walking wounded. They had very low health on 4 of the 5 players, if my memory serves me correctly, which means that you don't need to do too much damage. 1-2 bullets, that's it. And even if especially if their body shots are shot on the legs. So Nordik, a round that they really should have won. You have control of dining. All you need to do is just watch the 2 doorways and maybe control that server room that's going to be half shot out that Flynn was playing off of by the double doors at the bottom of White Stairs. But I don't think anybody from Nordik made those calls. I don't know if their calls were a mess. I'm not quite sure what exactly was going on with them. But Mirage manages to mount a comeback that they probably shouldn't have been able to do. Full stop.
Yeah.
As you pointed out, it was poor play from Nordik. There are times where we see incredible movement, incredible reads from one team or the other to take a round that they had no business winning. And I want to be perfectly clear. Mirage had no business winning that round. Nordik's entry and play through the mid-round was infinitely better than what we saw at a Mirage. But then they just totally fell apart. Mirage has done the same thing when they were on attack. They had issues tying up loose ends when there were 20 or 30 seconds left in the round. Fair enough. Newer teams will have those struggles on being able to pull off the execute. But Nordik just put in a masterclass of what not to do when there's so limited time left and have a significant advantage as they did. they're going to be kicking themselves, especially because their hole that they were in just got so much deeper with Mirage now sitting on match point.
I can't believe that comeback happened. And really, you gotta lay that at the feet of Nordik. Now, of course, for those of you who are unaware, this is a best of 3. So this is Oregon for our map number 1. This is Mirage's map pick. So they should be up here, 6-3. That makes sense, considering it's where they wanted to play. Nordik picked Villa, so that's where we'll be going for map number 2. And if we get to a map number 3, it will be Cafe. Now, you've got the double Electroclaw set up here once again from Silent. He's only placed 1 right now. He's trying to juggle it. The key to this is he's got 2 different places he can put the Electroclaw. He could put it in either part of the floor there that's been opened up. Nordik are waiting for S4 to get into tower so he can help open up this wall. Now, the question is, do they have information on where the Electroclaw is placed? It looks like they do. They've marked it, and they'll place the Exothermic, but they did it too late, and the Electroclaw will catch it. Now, you need to place the Exothermic as the Kali charge is detonating, but make sure the Exothermic doesn't place before the Kali charge detonates. It's kind of a timing thing. It takes practice, and clearly Nordik have not practiced that because, well, you saw what happened as well as I did. So Nordik will divert their attack. They'll try to attack from a different position without the wall opened in attic.
There was a lot that I did see in that round from Nordik that I liked. Their roam clear was very strong, and right now they're doing similar things. Bozak taking out Silent, and they'll get the leadoff pick. Obviously, the previous round, we saw it get decided by the server to a certain extent, as there were issues with the gunfight being put forward by Nordik. But yet again, their entry is strong. They know where they're approaching the bomb site from, and they know how best to handle it. It's really, like I said, that mid to later portion of the round where things really broke down for them, and you got taken advantage of because you weren't well coordinated. No, not this. Okay, thank goodness. Boy, it's been a while since we saw a Canadian prone on white stairs trying to push a fight like that, but I don't think anybody's really eager to relive that memory, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, 35 seconds left, Michael. Match on the line here for Mirage, or rather, in Mirage's favor. Nordics have decided to split their forces up and put somebody over near Trophy. They haven't opened up the game room wall. Flynn is downed, sustaining damage from the sniper of S4, and there goes Quartz. Suddenly, just like that, Nordik has come alive, but the Maestro is able to outduel inside of games, still getting spam pings. It's him versus the world, as Zilchi's now been downed. Still more marks, and this play from the window is going to be really tough to do. For a second there, loading sees the gun barrel, but doesn't matter. Nordik, great through the mid to later portion of this round. They make up for what happened in round number 8. And, well, here we go yet again, or rather, what happened in round number 9. Because now we're on round number 11. Math is hard. Still match point for Mirage.
Yeah, I think the entire caster lineup, we all just need to go back to elementary math. We had that same thing with I think it was Stokes yesterday.
Never count on stream ever. Never.
You can't do it.
Never try to do math on live broadcast.
Yeah, it's just a bad idea. You're always gonna get put into a hole and feel like, oh no, now what are they gonna say about me? But it is what it is, and if we're doing some maths, Loading has 17 kills, so that's a lot. Big number there. I can count to 17, Parker, I promise. Now, the rounds have been slightly shifted towards Nordik with that last win. They're still pretty far away from bringing us to the overtime that they need in order to take this map. And I just, I don't really see it happening. I mean, we're going down to bottom floor. Mirage looked so solid on the bottom floor last time they were here. It wasn't even a close round. It was probably the most well thought out defensive strategy Mirage had. That last round, I know, was a little bit shaky for Mirage. Honestly, their setup, it looked like they had control, but everything went wrong. It's about as wrong as it could. And all of the expected pushes didn't come. Nordik came from all the off angles, caught Mirage off guard, won all their fights. That's really it. I don't think Mirage is going to make those same mistakes here. And in fact, they've proven that they're capable of holding this site before. Biggest question in my mind is, will Nordik try for another blue attack? And the fact that we've got 4 people spawning by blue or construction makes me think yes, and I really hope they don't. I hope they try something different, because it seemed like they were really caught off guard by the way this the site was set up last time they attacked this site.
Well, you're in a tough spot if you're Nordik, like I said, just because you've got Mirage in a position where they're going to ride it out unless we go to overtime. Villa's up next. We will see that no matter what. Cafe is a question mark. With the way that Mirage has been playing on defense, barring that the last 2 rounds, this has been a pretty close matchup. There's been some thrown opportunities from these two teams, but nothing really that outside of the norm. And like I said, it's tough to play on a relatively new map. How do you lose that one, S4? No, no, no. Silent with another great shot from the deployable shield. The back of the basement. He's not in the position to be challenged, and that puts Nordik in an even bigger hole than they were to start the round.
We'll see if they can dig themselves out of it, but there you go. Storm's actually going to get loading. That is them starting to climb. Well done. And loading, of course, that top performer for Mirage. That's going to put more pressure on the rest of the players here for the defense to try and fill those shoes. Exothermic charge is going to open up box. That's going to be a nice entry point. We get a double angle push into the site, but it doesn't actually make the bottleneck any wider. You can see it's still just that one doorway. They're going to need to open up this wall right in front of the IQ if they want to do that. Well, they do have an exothermic, so they are going to try for this. The C4 is likely not going to come this time, and yeah, Bozak with a great pre-fire there, using the skill cannon G8 to deny the angle outright to Zilchi. Nothing Zilchi could have done to, well, get that C4 off and deny the exothermic. Mirage are looking picked apart here by Nordik's attack, and this is a very different story than from the last time we were here.
Position given away on the R4C at the bottom of main stairs. There's Sky's getting the plant down. Is he getting adequate coverage? Numbers right now put us at a 3v3 with Sky's off the defuse, but there he'll go yet again. Beautiful shot from Lackey. Courts with one, but then Lackey snaps on and gets another. It's Flynn in a 1v2. Plant going down from Lackey. Tossed out a smoke. Will be able to land this one on Lackey. Can't tell if it's doing any damage or if it misses. Lackey's been downed. It's Bozak and Flynn in a 1v1, but no, Bozak around the corner smokes Flynn, and we're going to need the final round to settle this one. Round 12 on the docket. 2 in a row now for Nordik.
Yeah, Bozak has been a huge force for his team, especially in that round. And a big part of that, of course, is going to be the G8 superpower. I said skill cannon earlier, satirically, and that is because it is probably one of the best guns in the game right now, after they added in that angled grip. Bozak has been putting it to great use so far on the attacking half. We'll go to a laundry once again to try and lock out this map. Mirage, just so close, yet so far. They'll have to adjust a little bit to how that attack came out from Nordik in the last round. I hope for Mirage's sake they're capable of rebuffing that attack and pushing this to map number 2, but we might get OT here. The big question is, how is Mirage going to deal with that exothermic charge on the B wall? Because after that gets opened up, it becomes much more difficult for Mirage to hold the site. The angles are wide open for Nordik. They don't have to force through a bottleneck. They've got plenty of options, and it just comes down to that angle play, those heads-up gunfights, which Bozak has been winning on the entry.
I think the stats really speak for themselves here on the team, and for Mirage, they've been very top-heavy. Quartz has excelled on defense, picking up the slack that was left from Loading after they switched sides. Loading was the hero for Mirage on attack. Far more consistency on the side of Nordik, though, as you can see, and honestly, there haven't really been any rounds where I have counted out a single member of Nordik. They've all done what they need to do, and they've all been active contributors to winning these rounds. Mirage looks like they're going to go with a similar setup downstairs as we now turn our sights towards, well, the very final round before overtime. How fitting that these two teams would need OT to start off map number 1. Another laundry supply room defense down below for Mirage with the map on the line. They've sat on match point since the end of round number 9, but haven't been able to close it out just yet.
Now, there's still plenty of time in this round for Nordik on attack. They don't need to be feeling time pressure at this point. It is clearly going to be another construction take, another blue take here. Flynn is playing inside of blue, though. That's very dangerous. He's got a shield here to assist him. He's got magnets and ADSs to eat up those explosives that would destroy his shield. And he's already wasted a significant amount of time. There goes the Ash charge. Try and get the shield. It will be successful. Shield likely down now. At least it was exploded. There you go. Flynn now has to hold the angle. Not going to be very easy for him to do, even though he is a smoke. Here comes the push from the Ash, and Flynn has fallen all the way back, but he didn't call for his team, and so 2 will be downed. An easy double for Storms. Loading and Silent gone, and that is likely the marker for OT. Port's trying to make a rotation. He will be detected on this rotation. The question is, do they know exactly where he was detected? It'll pop up on their screen, and yes, they will hear the Jaeger descending, and that'll be an easy kill for Bozak. And it's all on Zilchi, who gets 1 kill, but not a second. Nordik, an easy lockout of the round. Flynn not communicating to his team that he lost control of blue, or the team didn't hear it, whatever the case be. That completely dismantled the round.
You know, I don't want to say it, Michael, but you can't blame communication there on Flynn, given that he used to be a caster.
Okay, then I guess they didn't hear him.
I'm no casterologist, Michael, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Flynn might be decent at callouts. But that's just me. Okay. That really did fall apart by the lack of coverage, though, and it's very rare that we actually get to see that. So I'm glad that it was front and center, because just simply holding an angle and denying a push from one part of the map can literally win an entire round. Storms read that there was an opening and nobody watching it. It was droned out. He was able to check it. Ash mains do what Ash mains do best. You just start gunning down whatever's in front of you. And Mirage anticipated that somebody would be holding that part of blue. Because if you're not, you've got a line of sight into the part of blue, into the bomb site, and then all the way deep into freezer. So that's a huge position to play. That is one of the most powerful positions to play with the setup that Mirage had. And Flynn abandoning it even for a second, I'm aware that comms can fall apart quickly, but you gotta let your team know. Maybe Flynn did and they weren't quick enough to react, because it did appear that the Wamai was starting to move in that direction. I'm not sure. But regardless, that was a critical blow to the defense of Mirage, and then from there, it just snowballed in favor of Nordik as they got their confidence and continued taking up space, closing in on the bomb site.
Well, Mirage did get defense first on OT. So I'd say that given what we've been seeing from both these teams, that should be a good position for Mirage. Although the fact that Mirage has started losing their defenses downstairs, it might be actually better for Nordik. Now the top floor is a different story. Again, Mirage not having the best time up here. Nordik have been looking a lot more confident on their attack rounds in general, actually, just to be honest. And that could spell the doom of Mirage. We'll see. There's a clash being brought here to try and slow down the push in through Attic.
It's one thing that we haven't really been focusing on, you and I, is just the amount of drone work that's come on Nordic's side. The droning was decent on Mirage's, and I know we complimented the entry from Nordik, but we could be focusing more on it. And this is great because we're getting tons of perspective on how they are approaching this take, clearing out that first floor. But it's a defense that has a roamer down below. We can see the silhouettes of both Zilchi and Quartz playing in the basement. If Nordik, as much as they're droning, don't discover that, they're in trouble. Loading from above has an opening, and he just tears through Lackey. The first pick is going to go to Mirage. They could have really used that over the last 3 rounds, as they could have put this match away. But the advantage, at least early, is for the defense.
I don't even know if that impact trick still works with the new organ. It might. It's totally possible. And
it sounds like it may have.
It didn't.
It did not that time.
Yeah, the wall is open. So I have never seen anyone do it on the new organ. I knew that was the thing on the old organ. I just assumed they changed it. But whatever the case be, it didn't work in this instance. That's what matters. Now, 4-4 here. Zilchi is eliminated. A loading's still in play, and I think that's what really matters. He's only got a little bit of HP, but he does have that Alda. He can do some work if he's not the one targeted. He will die to a single bullet from, I think, all of the guns on the other side, though. Key here is that there's only 35 seconds left. One of the attackers will drop to big window, and you can see Storms is going to try and push up white stairs. So there's going to be a multi-pronged attack here. One attacker from each angle, no one from attic. That's the key. Storms gets control of white. That's really big. It'll deny angles for Mirage. We'll have to adjust. He'll get another one onto loading, who was playing by the big window. That's also huge. Going for a fourth. Clash will have to take out the SMG. Doesn't really have a choice at this point. He's now the only one alive. Down goes Flynn. A nice flick there from S4. Or rather, Silent actually is the one to take down the Ash. And Nordik will get the final kill. Skies cleans things up after faking the plant, and there you go. The attack successful on the top floor. It seems like Mirage has nowhere safe they can defend.
Has the luck just all run out for them, or has it just been that Nordik needed a couple rounds to be able to get in on it? Because that's certainly what it seems like. Nordik needed to warm up. And honestly, Storms has been a monster on attack. So many of those rounds, that was 4 in a row, by the way, that Nordik won on attack, can go down to the play of just Storms. The way that he was able to read the situation after it had been droned out, after he could take up space, and then punish the defenders, some of which were heads-up gunfights, and some of which he's killing them with their back turned, looking at the side. Now, it's very easy to just point at Storms as I did and say, he's the reason why those kills happened. But if he's taking all those engagements while the defenders on Mirage are looking in another direction, it's because of good drone work from Nordik that's distracting the members of Mirage. It's negligence on the side of Mirage to have every single point of entry covered, as we saw when it was Nordik attacking this exact bomb site 2 rounds ago. Storms isn't just playing well himself, he's playing well because his team is setting him up for success. Whether it's that they're droning in and distracting the defenders, whether they're taking gunfights or peeking to distract the defenders in that way, whether it's just that Mirage is being sloppy and complacent, allowing Storms to punish them on that front. There's a lot that we don't see in regards to how an entry fragger gets the frags they get, but in this case, Storms gets praise, but his team needs it too.
Loading has also fallen asleep here. 18 kills, and it's been a while since he got one. Now, when you have someone having one of those performances and then suddenly it just isn't going anymore, things get a little bit complicated. And it opens up the playing field for your opponents because they're not feeling that pressure anymore. They're not feeling stressed about taking these fights. And that's definitely something I've noticed with Nordik. They're getting a little bit more confident with how they take fights and how they finish fights. Now, Loading is back on Kali, who is the operator that Loading had the bulk of his kills on. We'll see if he's able to continue that now in OT. The confidence seems to be waning, though, for Mirage, and I think that's worth noting. They're feeling a lot more pressure by the fact that they're now the ones on the back foot. They're the ones facing match point. Loading trying to clear into the main lobby. Apply some pressure. The downstairs hold. You could see that Nordik are going for a very extended hold on this bomb site. They're not letting themselves get caged in necessarily. We got pressure onto blue, pressure onto pillar, pressure onto freezer. And the only thing that's not really extended into is just underneath that main lobby drop, because you can't really do that easily due to the drop.
We're also... I don't think one thing that we've really focused on is Quartz just annihilates S4 downstairs in freezer, is that this is Mirage's map. So this is the trouble that you have, because Villa that's up next is definitely going to work well for Nordik, given that, well, it's their map pick. I don't know exactly what's going on in chat. We'll ignore it and just continue on with the round, as there's 1 minute and 15 seconds left. So we're going to get to the point where the conclusion of this round / this map is only moments away. Maybe doing his best Storms impression is Silent. He's at the edge of the laundry room, waiting to push on in. Is that a C4 or a smoke that gets tossed his way? It's a C4 that looks like it might get tossed out. There's one for Silent. He'll pick up another, as you can hear the telltale signs of the R4C. Can he go for a third? Yes, he can. Silent with 3 kills onto Lackey. It's a 5v1 now, though Loading has been downed and 1 HP for Silent. That still, the numbers very much in their favor. 40 seconds left. Calm before the storm, maybe. Skies eliminating Quartz. But he'll watch as there goes an air jab above him. Tough spot for Skies to put himself in. Flynn gets knocked over, maybe? I'm not sure exactly what happened there with Flynn. Skies takes out Zilchi. Looks for another. My goodness, 3 kills. But Diffuser goes down. This is the first... Is this the first successful Diffuser that we've seen so far in this matchup? No, there was one more prior. So 2 diffusers in this whole matchup. Sky's now looking at the angles. He's got 3 kills, but he's totally blind, and you can tell. He'll have to swing aggressively. The Ashe will need to flinch at some point. Silent on 1 HP, so Skies could really benefit here. A quick pop into the corner, but that'll be all she wrote. We're going to need every single round of this matchup. 15 rounds to start off our very first map here in the Canada Division, as it's tied up yet again 7-7.
Yeah, that was a little bit of comedy in motion, because the air jab got caught by a magnet, which happened to be next to the planter. So when it detonates, and as you know, magnets detonates the things that they drag. So the air jab detonates, and the plant got denied by his teammate's air jab. That was hilarious. And yeah, what a nice try there from Skies. I mean, wow, he came so close to success there. Ultimately, all impactless frags, but still an impressive performance from him in that round, almost bringing it all the way. The Ashe would have died to a single shot from anything. The shotgun, the SMG, didn't matter. Was on a sliver of HP. But it's not to be. Now, as you mentioned, Parker, every single round. And we'll see if Mirage can finally win a defense. They've been struggling to do so after their successful defense on the bottom floor. Really, Mirage have just looked lackluster on this side of the map. We'll see if they can make it happen this time. They'll go to the bottom floor for their last hope of winning this map. I'm a little bit worried for Mirage, to be honest, given what we've seen from them in past rounds.
I would be as well, frankly. This has not been a very friendly defensive half for Mirage ever. They took rounds 7, 8, and 9, the first 3 rounds of them on defense. As you know, round 9 was the 2v5 that Mirage ended up making a 2v0. So that's obviously ideal for them, and they played well. But that's not really something that you can look at and say with any confidence that they were the better team on defense. I would argue that Nordik probably should have won that round, and if they had, they would have won the entire matchup. So I'm sweating a little bit if I'm Mirage, because their defenses have been a little bit sloppier than they would have liked. Honestly, at this exact point, consistently through this match, I would say that Nordik has looked like the better team despite the 7-7 scoreline. The better team doesn't always win. A couple rounds, a couple gunfights break against you, breaks in the favor of the other team, and they can end up prevailing despite not being the better team overall. So what is going to happen over the next 2 minutes? Honestly, I couldn't even predict given what we've seen over the first 14 rounds.
Completely agree with you, Parker. This is going to be an interesting one, though, that's for sure, as it's the last chance for both. It's going to be a really important map here. And look at that, a reinforcement from Flynn, a late one. He will abandon his post in blue and walk away. That's definitely the right call, as last time, this was the downfall to his team. More importantly, though, that's going to put pressure on S4 and Skies to open up the wall. These Kali charges need to be perfectly placed in order for the wall to get opened up successfully. Not going to be an easy task, and Silent doesn't seem to be juggling. No, he is juggling. He will pick up and replace, and Skies is too late with this placement. He will lose his first exothermic charge. You have to place before the Cade Electroclaw can deny, and you do that by placing during the detonation cycle of the Kali charge. And that is something that Nordik needs to practice. They really need to practice. That might cost them 2 rounds, and it might cost them his whole map.
That was a really rough thing to watch, especially on the timing, as it really could have worked out for Nordik.
There you go.
No, that's a bit of a problem. Are they going to get the second one? He throws it in time. I don't think he's going to be able to get it. The exothermic charge should go off, no problem. And it takes with it the Electroclaw too. Opening kill comes on the side of Nordics. Just as they open up the wall, they've now got control of the back of Oregon basement. They're over by the tower stairs. They can continue to push up as they've got pillar nearby, and they can control that long hallway leading towards Laundry, which is where we saw Quartz playing. The good news for Mirage is that as long as Quartz stays alive, you have a really good chance of being able to keep this round in yours, because he's been excellent on defense so far. Skies getting the plant down. He's very close to getting it off. Storms goes down. Skies manages to get it as there's tons of smoke damage done. It's a retake for both Quartz and Silent. Lackey with one of his own. Mirage losing numbers, but it's back to a 2v2. Lackey and Bozak still upright. control of the back stairs right now for Bozak. He's going to be able to get the Jaeger if the Jaeger pushes up without looking. That means that Quartz will have to win his 1v1, but he doesn't. Bozak with it and pings on the defuse. Silent will have to fall off. He takes one, but no, Nordic have the numbers advantage, and they'll steal Mirage's map away from them. GG's to these two teams, but map 1 goes in favor of Nordic.
Well, that's a big map 1, and I really got to lay that at the feet of Zilchi, the Clash, who was meant to hold the main hallway, but didn't. And because he couldn't hold that main hallway, we ended up seeing, I believe it was Lackey, actually push all the way down the hallway. It was Lackey. Push all the way down the hallway and get a double, possibly a triple kill in that round. But he, as an individual, secured the round for his team. And it was all because Zilchi, the Clash, whose job it was to hold that hallway, died before the action even started. That's really rough if you're Mirage, and a mistake that could have been easily avoided. That's it for us, though. We'll toss to a quick break before we get to the next map in this series.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Kix and Antero, and Nordic winning 8-7. 15 long rounds there, ladies and gentlemen. But Mirage came in hot in Taro, but it looks like Nordic warmed up and just fought back.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to watch the way that those two teams played that map, because it's still very obvious from every pro team that's playing on Oregon, they haven't exactly figured out the ebb and flow of the map, and that's fine. You expect that with newer maps coming back in and out, and this Oregon does play quite differently than the old one. I had to give props to Nordik, whether they had a won or lost. I did say that they were the better team that played, and I very much would like to stand by that remark. There were too many times on attack where Mirage just dropped the ball through the mid-round and struggled to close out rounds, and they did the same on defense. They might get an early pick, they might be aggressive, but then they just kind of dropped off, and I don't know if that's team synergy, chemistry, or just bad coordination, but they're going to have to turn it up a little bit for a map like Villa, which is up next.
Yeah, and talking about Mirage, Loading was playing exceptionally well, popping off, but then Kicks, he was kind of nodding off later, right?
Yeah, he seemed to fall asleep a little bit at the wheel later in the match. Seemed like the momentum was lost, not just for Loading as an individual fragger, but for Mirage as an entire team. They certainly looked strong, but they just couldn't manage it in the end. They couldn't get that lockout. And that is made even worse by the fact that this is their map pick, Oregon. The fact that they now have to go to Nordic's map pick now, which is Villa, is, well, a little intimidating, or it has to be a lot intimidating, considering the momentum is in Mirage's favor.
And moving on to map 2, Villa, as you said. Gentlemen, who's winning? And Tara, you said you're still leaning towards Nordik, right?
Well, no, I don't think we made proper predictions here. I mean, going into...
Should we make some?
I honestly,
Are we up in the air still?
I think going into this matchup, like many people on social media, and knowing the caliber and the pedigree behind each of the players individually, I would have given the edge to Mirage, especially given the fact that I've heard scrim reports that Mirage has been, very aggressively pursuing scrims with, US division teams. At the same time, Nordik looked like the much better team. Not much, I guess I should say, but they definitely look like the better team. Going into a very proper map like Villa that needs to be strategic first, I'm going to give the edge to Nordik here to close this out 2-0.
Okay, Kicks?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably give the edge to Nordik as well. I think I said the momentum was in Mirage favor earlier. I meant Nordik. They just got a win on their opponent's map pick. They're going into their map pick now. I was talking about it in the lead into this match. You're going to be trying to pick maps that you're more comfortable on instead of thinking so much about your opponent when you know less about them. And that's the situation we find ourselves in right now. So I'm assuming that Nordik are going to be very comfortable on Villa, and this could be actually a much more one-sided map number 2 than what we saw in map number 1.
15 rounds again?
I don't know. Maybe it's possible. We saw, to be honest, we saw
Lordy.
a lot of mistakes on both sides, and those kinds of matches, we often will be getting 15-round maps.
Very true. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your insight. We'll be right back. Map 2, Villa up next. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. It's going to be map number 2 now on the docket. Between Mirage and Nordik, to, I would assume, probably the community's surprise, Nordik was the better team through the first map. But Villa lays in front of us, and it's a very different map as to how it's going to get played, Michael. So what should we be looking for with these two teams as we queue into map number 2?
Well, we talked about it a little bit in the U.S. division, and we could talk about it now in the Canadian division. Villa, as a map, tends to favor the more strategic, control of those angles. But I'd say the crux of Villa, the thing that makes it different than some other strategic maps, is that a lot of your engagements are coming at much closer proximity. You're going to get a lot more of those shoulder-to-shoulder kind of gunfights. So in that sense, this map actually not only favors the teams that can work better as a unit, but also suggests it, encourages it for everybody going into this map. So it'll be an interesting one to watch play out. One thing that we have to make note of right off the bat, a Thermate and a Hibana ban, double hard breacher on Villa. That's going to make things interesting. Omai also banned out. So one of your anti-grenade or anti-projectile operators eliminated. And we'll see what the last defender is going to be. It looks like it'll be Amira.
All right. Well, I mean, right now, Ace is not available to be played, so there's going to be a Maverick every single round. Unsurprising.
Yeah.
I like the Wamai ban very much. Obviously, these differ from what we saw previously. There was a Valk ban in map number 1. The Operator Attacker bans are fascinating to me because Thatcher now has a spot in the attacking lineup. But if you have a Maverick, are you going to prioritize a Thatcher to clear out the rest of the junk that the defense is going to bring? Or are you just going to worry about getting the wall and then bringing lots of soft destruction to come with it and then use that to either flush out the ADSs or destroy the gadgets that may lie in wait? Well, right now, the answer from Nordics through first round is going to be no Thatcher, unless the IQ 6 picks off, no, stays with the IQ. So yeah, Thatcher available, but not going to see any play right now.
I mean, while he is really good at clearing out the utility, I assume it's just thought of, okay, if we can bring a Maverick to open the wall, we don't have to bring a Thatcher. I personally would still bring the Thatcher if it were me.
I agree.
I don't know, like, it's too powerful of a tool to just cut through mute jammers or bandit batteries or ADSs, and those are what you would be cutting through in this particular case. Regardless of whether or not you're trying to open the wall, he's still going to help you. But hey, it is what it is. With Mirage starting on defense, that'll be a little bit of an edge for them in the first round. They're going to be starting at a trophy defense, and they'll also be extending their roam over towards study on the south side of the building.
I can't help but talk about how strange it is to see teams go back to trophy statuary right away, given that we've spent the last 5 to 6 months conditioning ourselves to seeing a kitchen defense down below replace this particular bomb site. So that on its own is quite fascinating. And all right, well, that is definitely a big thonk, as the kids would say. Goodbye to Silent as he gets destroyed through the drone hole. Bozak going into a very familiar spot and just immediately proning. If I'm Silent, I'm that Doc, I'm kicking myself after that one.
Yeah, certainly dying to a drone hole is not a good start for a map. And with the Mirage having lost map number 1, Silent in particular not only has to be kicking himself, but the mental game has to be, well, I would imagine not great for Silent. That's going to really hinder his chances in future rounds, I would imagine, as it continues to weigh on him. If we could see him bounce back, that would be awesome, and that would be a testament to his talent. Clear as
There's a C4 that just goes nowhere right now. So no team's really losing anything as the struggle appears to be over towards Aviator. And with that, the response comes in from Mirage as they are moving at least one piece of barbed wire in hopes of slowing down whatever comes from Nordik. Not quite as quick of a round as it feels like. There's still a minute and a half left here, and that obviously goes very much in favor of the attackers who are up by 1 in terms of man count.
And not only that one, but also the fact that it's your Doc that dies early. That's one of those operators that just gets more useful over time. With his ability to heal his teammates, if you take a risky engagement as a defender, lose some HP, but still get out alive, there's your Doc to heal you back up to full, and you can try again. And having that ability stripped away, that's also quite substantial. Zilchi is going to get the first kill for his team, but it's answered back by Lackey, who gets Flynn trying to hide by the Master doorway. Loading still holding on to a Master itself. You can see that you've got Bozak and Skies both trying to entry in through Master, but with Quartz and Zilch... Well, no, not Loading, actually. I was about to say, with Quartz and Loading trying to hold on to this position, but he's gone. Great shot there from Bozak, who has proven himself really worthy of that G8. S4 going for the plant. Lackey trying to cover. Zilch doesn't have C4 anymore, so he can't deny indirectly. He'll have to take the fight, and he loses it to Lackey. Quartz now the last defender. He's got about 50 HP. He will win one fight. Now he needs to win 3 more. In the post plant, no less. Low HP on Bozak, so at least there's that. But the angle is not monitored, and Lackey is better for it. He'll take down Quartz, and Nordik will take round number 1.
Good call halfway through from Nordik to reposition the way that they did, and Mirage tried to match it, but just couldn't at all. This keeps going with Nordik looking like the more coordinated team. It doesn't matter if people know who they are showing up big time, and well, I think a part of that round is just a team that is better practiced on a map that they're obviously very familiar with, excels. I suspect that with the way that the map bans worked out, you would likely hear from Mirage, yeah, we didn't expect to win Villa. We expected to win Oregon and then put up a good fight on Cafe. That's kind of what I might be thinking, given just the way that map bans work. Neither of these teams are going to have a huge portfolio of strategies on every map, just because they are new and they're still figuring it out. So trouble in the water early on from Mirage. As now, on the second round, they go to the bomb site that I thought they would have gone to in the first place, which is Kitchen down below. This is the site that is directly below Trophy Statuary, or well, at least the statuary part of it, because Trophy bleeds over towards the western side of the map, but it's just me being pedantic. This is the bomb site a lot of teams like to go towards because it gives you that safety net above you. It gives you space to be able to roam inside of Statuary. You can roam upstairs in Master. You can fall off if you want and head over towards Laundry, which is where the hatch has already been opened up. So this will probably be better for Mirage to hold the site for a longer period of time. But if I'm Nordik, I'm comfortable going here. It's not a weird site. It's not wonky. And at least from what we're seeing out of this Mirage defense, nothing is outside the ordinary, barring maybe Alibi, depending on how they use her.
Yeah, I mean, she's an operator that can be really distracting, shave a few seconds off of the clock. And you can do some weird things with her that even will work against pros occasionally. But she doesn't see a whole lot of play. When she does get played, it's mostly for her shotgun secondary, her impacts, her 3-speed, and her excellent primary weapon, or at least excellent in the hands of pros. It does have a lower DPS, yes, but it's got a ridiculous rate of fire and not that much recoil, so it's the sort of gun that if you're good at hitting your headshots, you can make work. And Loading has proven himself capable of hitting those headshots through this match, or I think so anyway. Now the clear upstairs is coming out from Nordik. There is a roam up here with the C4 from below ready to assist in the roam. You've got two players upstairs trying to hold on to the top floor as long as possible. That should be no kill for the C4 because there's a hard floor there. Zilch has learned a lesson from that, or at least I hope he'll review the VOD and now realize that, nope, the player didn't move. You just can't C4 there.
Is there something going on right now, by the way, with everybody running Bolo's streamer charm? I've seen it on like almost every pro player, and it was yesterday as well in the US division. But that's
I think it's
another
respect for Bolo.
I mean, it's great that he's got a charm in the game. Welcome to the club, Bolo. It's a really nice charm. I have it myself. I'm sure you do as well. But anyway,
of course. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what were you going to say?
I was going to say I run it. I run it on a couple of different guns. It helps me aim better. Sorry, what were you going to say, Parker?
What I was going to say, Michael, is that Bozak gets a kill onto Silent, and well, I hope there's not any kills happening right now because the ban wave has been absolutely astonishingly long today. There's a push-up from Lackey. Bozak falls to a Nitro Cell, back to a 3v3. Each team trading blows right now, and Zilch trying in vain to be able to make anything work with that cardiac sensor. It's almost tantalizing for him, knowing that there are attackers upstairs, and he can't really do anything with it. But there's one for Flynn. He's down below. It's through the floor. Say goodbye. Nordik now trailing through the final 40 seconds.
Yeah, the weird thing about remote casting is that you can't see your co-commentator, so the visual cues are lost. You just kind of have to hope that you get it right. And it can be kind of sometimes weird, just for those wondering. But the pressure being applied here by the last two attackers, while notable, is not likely to see success just because they haven't actually opened up any new ways to attack this site. They're going to have to funnel through the bottlenecks. In this case, it's going to be Memorial. They go for the push, but they're getting flanked. That's some damage done to Storms, but no kill. Both of these attackers will die to a single bullet. Nice nade, though. And oh, this is a 1v1 all of a sudden, but not enough time for Skies to plant the diffuser. And it'll be a simple win there for the last player on defense. Just stay alive. Exactly that will happen. The first round will go to Mirage. Or, well, the first round for Mirage will go to Mirage. Pardon me.
You could see on the Alibi's perspective how the I need to push this mentality kicked in. And then right as they realized, hey, there's only a second left, the Alibi decides to hug the reinforcement. Why? Because at that point, your best friend is the clock. You don't need to push anything. You just need to stay alive. It's that simple. You don't want to take anything for granted. And I mean, color me surprised. How many people would have just decided to provoke the fight and possibly throw their lives away and have us sitting here in disbelief going, just hide. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think most people.
Yeah. But honestly, that wasn't a terrible round from either team. I think credit needs to be given where credit is due. And the upstairs gameplay was strong. You could tell that Nordik expended too many drones early on because, as you pointed out, they've got to funnel in through bottlenecks. They had no intel. They had no time to go through that. They hadn't really done the best job of entering, as I think that they've shown they are capable of doing in the past. And that obviously benefited Mirage because this is a defender-sided map, a very defender-heavy map. And with that, there are a couple different walls where you can't push through any soft destruction. It's just not going to be there. There's enough reinforcements to cover most of the walls. You've got hard brick that can't be shot through. Explosives aren't going to do anything to it, especially that doorway that was just being shown off by the observer. Where are you going to go? There are two panels right now that are soft that Mirage can use to their advantage. There you go. You can see them both directly to the left, reinforcements. But if that's fully reinforced, you have to push through a doorway that allows you to not go for any pre-fires. Can't get any bullet pen kills, nothing like that. You just got to go through a single doorway and you might get gunned down. Tough spot to find yourself in if you're an attacker later in the round with no intel and with two hard breachers banned. Yeah, I mean, Nordik knows what they're up against right now on an already very defender-heavy villa.
Peek from Bozak, not netting any kills just yet at the top of main, but Lackey's nade certainly will. With that kill, actually, yeah, the player at top main, well placed. Great awareness there from Lackey. He threw that nade from the front door downstairs through the floor, and that worked out great as Loading was not given an opportunity to fall back, and there was nothing that could have protected him from that nade other than just leaving the vicinity. Flynn is trying to hold on to the corner by top main, but he's going to have a difficult task ahead of him. It looks like there's another nade being set up by the sledge. Is he going to be able to... No, it's too far back. He would have to go into library in order to get rid of that second shield. But Flynn is going to be dispatched by Storms regardless, who's just landing his shots. Nordik now in a significant lead with half of the round to go. Wall getting opened up. A two-man advantage. I'm not so sure what Mirage is going to be able to do to bring this round back to a point where they might be able to win it.
If there was 30 seconds left on the clock, I honestly think that this is still a winnable situation for the defenders, but there's tons of time to play off of. The big cardinal sin that's being committed by Nordik right now is that they are over-peaking given their numbers advantage.
Yep.
Amateur teams, inexperienced teams, new teams, they're all going to make the same mistake. They're going to get cocky. They're going to take their gunfights knowing that they've got numbers on their side, and if they lose those, well, you find yourself in a terrible spot. It happened to Nordik in the 2v5 on Oregon that Mirage ended up coming out on top of. And it looks like history might be repeating itself because right now, Mirage have seemingly taken a 3v5 and made it a 3v2. Everything is working out in favor of the defense. Now we get into that fabled home stretch, the 40 seconds where things could be falling apart for Mirage, but they've fallen apart from Nordic's. How are you going to be able to come out alive of this? Well, you have Bozak hitting a great shot, looking for a second. He'll go fishing and come up with an empty line. That's not the spot that he wants to find himself in, but Silent's going to peek around the corner. He and Mirage now in a 2v1. It's all German operators, and we'll see exactly what German engineering can do. It'll be Jaeger. Quartz, Mirage somehow winning that one. They go from a 3v5 to a 2v0. Well held, but more than anything, a wag of the finger to the way that Nordik played that, pushing individually on a round where if you work in tandem with one another, you probably end up winning the round.
There's a couple layers to that, right? The biggest one, as you mentioned, Parker, and you're absolutely right, is the way that Nordik overpeaked. They took too many fights, too many angles, all separately, 1v1s, lost those, and suddenly you're losing the round. And that's big. But another huge sin there committed by Nordik is they opened up both the walls in study. If you open both the walls in study, then you give the defense a crossfire on you as an attacking team. And it means you have more angles to control, and even with a man advantage, that can be exceptionally difficult. And we saw that work against them early in the round, and we did see a little bit of fight back, though, when Zilchi overpeaked through the Maverick holes, which he should not have done. And that actually ended up giving a kill to Nordik and making it possible that Mirage would be able to take it. But that doesn't really matter. The key there is that they opened up the games wall and they opened up the aviator wall, thus resulting in the absolute catastrophe that happened in study for Nordik. And, well, yeah, pick one is my advice. Always just pick one. Open up the games wall and then go for a games take, or open up the aviator wall. Those are you got two choices. Go for either one. Generally speaking, I'd recommend aviator. It's easier to isolate that bomb site than it is to isolate the game's bomb site because of the bar cover and the way that gun vault works in relation to the bomb site. But it is what it is, and I'm sure that we'll see Nordik learn from their mistakes there. Moving forward, it's a trophy defense for Mirage. We'll see how they hold out on this one. It hasn't been an amazing site necessarily. I don't know. Overall, I'd say that the roam is probably the most lackluster part of this for Mirage. They are often pushed off this quite quickly.
They're going to hold down Aviator Study, even though that's not the bomb site any longer, which is what they did, if I remember correctly, in round number 1. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yes, well, thank you. I just wanted to hear you say I was right. I knew it the whole time. That's it. It's just nice to be reminded of that sometimes. Loading gets very cocky, and whether he has information or not, he unfortunately finds an early death, and the lead pick goes to Nordik as they look to be able to claw their way back to even with Mirage after surrendering the previous round. So the presence that was over towards Aviator has now fallen off. Quartz is the closest to playing off site, and he's going to be on red stairs, waiting very intently for somebody to come and cross, but nobody has so far. He's watching towards 90, but also has the ability to see towards the study door, which is where he's going to pre-fire in. If you have any drones on the board for Nordik, you can quite easily drone this out. There is a mute in play, and it's very likely Loading was able to get every single mute jammer down before he died. But in the off chance he didn't, you as an attacking team will be in great shape to be able to take advantage of the remainder of Mirage. Quartz will rotate, though. Looks like he's trying to head on over toward the rest of his team as Nordik have successfully taken the southern part of the second floor.
Now, this is the platform they want to use for the execution landing. It's a little bit dangerous. You're dealing with bottlenecks that you can't make larger, and that is those two doorways to the bomb sites. Now, the one thing that you can do to make this attack easier is get control of Master from the balcony, which is exactly what Bozak is trying to do. He'll find Flynn inside of Master thanks to his teammates droning. I believe that's Sky's droning for him. Maybe not. But it'll be a fallback for Flynn. He'll go downstairs, right call there. And Quartz will also retreat. Silently getting hit by an air jab, but he'll win the fight. Well, rather, Quartz will win the fight for him on Storms, who is on Repel. Down goes your Zofia. And as Zilchi adds to that, eliminating Lackey, things are getting a little bit sketchy here for Nordik as we hit the last 20 seconds. The push into the site has worked out to some extent. S4 has pushed his way into Statuary, but he's got the diffuser and he's falling out of Statuary. He's trying to push his way into Trophy now. I'm not exactly sure what his plan is, but that lost control will work against him as the Alibi will eliminate the last two attackers. Silent, a nice lock up there. And Mirage, a solid defense of Trophy.
Looks like this double hard breach ban is now working very much against Nordik. Now, You knew that they were prepped to play without Thermite. That's why they, or without the Hibana. That's why they banned the Hibana. But did they know that there was going to be a Thermite ban on the table as well? Because this totally could have caught them off guard. And for Nordik, on that round, they really stalled over towards Aviator. I noted that they had control of the southern part of that second floor. That's the Aviator study side of Villa. But they didn't have a lot of time to be able to then move towards taking control of Master, to be able to take control of 90, to be able to move towards the trophy and statuary doorways, or even put somebody over towards astronomy. So a rough going for Nordik, as they were successful in one step, but then seemed to skip over the others, which is what really allowed Mirage to just sit and wait, watch the doorways where they knew the attack was coming from, and pick them off one by one by one. You're going to push over from Aviator study side, fine, fair enough, but you're going to need to ensure that there's at least something distracting the remaining defenders over by bathroom, over by astronomy, over by master. That wasn't evident, or that wasn't present rather, from Nordik. It was too linear, didn't work out. Both of these teams are basically the same skill level when it comes to gunplay, so Mirage is going to be able to make you pay, given the fact that they know exactly where you, the attackers of Nordik, are coming from.
Well, in this round, seems like the defense is going to be holding upstairs, so that's where the attack will have to go.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
That top floor pressure on Kitchen can work wonders as a defender if you're able to maintain it, and so the attack will have to push you off to avoid that being a problem later in the round. Nordik seem to be congregating on the south side, it looks like. Oh, running that direction. I believe this will be a south side clear. Yep, starting from study, working your way forward. Better safe than sorry. They're being thorough. You gotta appreciate that. Now, a reminder, this is Villa. This is also which is a defender-sided map, but this is also Nordic's map pick. So you expect them to at least take 3 rounds on the first half. And that's where that pressure is really going to start coming in right now. Is where you either take these next 2 rounds or it's a disadvantage going into the second half on your own map. Loading will eliminate Storms, though, with a C4, likely thanks to one of his Valkyrie cams. And, well, because of that kill, one of your star fraggers for this match as a whole is gone. Storms has been getting put in a corner many of these rounds and really unable to play the game. Gotta feel bad for him at some point. This might be that point. Whatever the case be, though, that's going to slow down the clear into the top floor. With all the information coming from Valkyrie cams and the heartbeat detector from Zilchi, Mirage is in a great spot, not only in terms of man count, but time and information.
Down below, he's not going to make that same mistake with a nitro cell onto the hard floor, I'm guessing, ever again, as you pointed out. He can't do it anyway. He doesn't have a nitro cell right now, as we talked about. But regardless, I saw 2 members from Nordik sitting in the same spot, and I was thinking to myself, no way. He's probably realizing, oh, they're there again. Oh, but I can't do anything with it, so... Storms has really been the savior of this matchup for Nordik, and certainly was on Oregon. He would have been my MVP for that match. It doesn't matter if he had the most kills, it doesn't matter if he had the best KD. For me, I think he had the most impactful play. If I'm just giving him the old eye test, hasn't been anywhere near as useful on Villa, but that's okay. You're going to hope that somebody else on the team can step up. It's been Bozak who's really been the person I've been watching, and has been able to make his own plays and make his own space quite well without the assistance of his team. The rest of Nordik have done fine, but by being down a man, 40 seconds left, you're going to need to get a quick pick and then capitalize off of it. It looks like Lackey can do just that. Takes out Flynn. Flynn playing on the mute. That's a nitro cell. The only nitro cell that I don't believe had been used other than silence. So that's a problem for Mirage. Trapped inside of the corner is the Mozzie. There goes a frag grenade, and it doesn't do anything, amazingly enough. Meanwhile, off screen, S4 gets a kill onto loading, so the advantage goes back to Nordik. And the IQ is looking to make something happen over by Laundry. They've got the wall opened up. Good coverage. Bozak making his presence felt. Excellent plays, looking for another kill far deep down as he protects Skies. It's Quartz in a 1v3. With Bozak down, can the Jaeger make something happen? It's been exceptional so far. It's now a 1v1. Spraying into the wall as the diffuser is planted. That is going to be the timeline that he will have to work after. Lackey pushing up. Diffuse going down. Quartz will abandon. One shot going in. His position roughly given away. He'll spray in. He's got the gun out, but no! Quartz, what a beautiful and masterful clutch. He'll be able to get the diffuser with tons of time left. And Mirage on a round they once again had no business winning, They take it from a 1v3 to a 1v0, and then the objective as well. It's 4-1 in favor of Mirage. They will decisively win their defensive half.
Well, Mirage have certainly woken up after their failure in the first map, and in particular, Quartz. Wow, what a round. The confidence on the man is what allowed him to take that. Just forcing the gunfight, knowing that if he waits, he's bound to lose. And, well, Quartz didn't wait, not a second. He took every opportunity to initiate fights and won every single one of those fights. Well played to him in the 1v3 to bring that one in for his team. And as you mentioned, Parker, absolutely no business winning that round. But, well, Quartz really forced it out. It'll be Aviator Room Games for the next. We've got to move up that site, change things over. And this site has been friendly to Mirage as well. The main reason being that Nordik made some poor decisions in terms of their fights that they were taking. In an advantageous situation, they lost the last time they went to this bomb site because they just took a bunch of 1v1s, ended up losing them. Also, opening up more angles than they were capable of managing at one time, which is never a good thing. We'll see if Nordik can lock things up this time around. I'm curious if they're going to go for a study take again, because that really didn't work out well for them. And there is an alternative. Of course, you can just clear from the northeast side of the building and attack this from 90 and the B doorway, which is what a lot of other teams will do. But I don't know. I mean, only time's going to tell there. Usually the response will be evident of what they're trying to do. I can't really tell, but it looks like they're going to be going for a study take again. Yeah, that'll be the case. Okay. So they're screaming second time's the charm, and I think they might have what it takes to make this work this time around. Lackey's not going to be able to get a nade kill from below this time, though, because nobody's playing that far up by main. So that'll be called out. Lackey will need to push into the library in order to get that shield on the A doorway, because it's far enough back.
We're seeing a lot of Aviator study takes. Not much coming else from, or not much coming from anywhere else on the map, which kind of leaves you pinned down if you don't get that hard breach off successfully. It was what I'd mentioned before with the Thermite and the Hibana both being removed. Sure, Maverick can be able to do it, but I know that there are a lot of teams that have said in the past that they're not exactly the most comfortable going solo with Maverick, and that's a big part of why they try to work around the operator bans the way they do. Could be, it's just speculation, but it could be that Mirage is aware of just running a single Maverick and are prepared for it. That'll be an evil eye taken out, waiting for it to open up yet again, or run out from the Valkyrie. This is, I'm not sure what Loading was trying to do there. I think he was just trying to get somebody that was playing on 90 repel, but doesn't do much with it. Now it's in the hands of Quartz, who was the master behind the comeback on the previous round, to try and make something happen. We hit the halfway mark here, Michael, and it looks like some of that study wall has finally been opened up, as the next steps are just in front of Nordik.
Now they've got the pressure onto the bar. There's a C4 from below, though. That's loading. Actually, he's used to C4. He won't be able to do that this time around. Silent does have a C4, though. He is playing below, so he might be able to deny. You've got Zilchi, Flynn, and Quartz in a three-man array, pointing their guns towards that breach, getting ready to deny it. As we hit the last minute, the gas canisters start to come out. Lackey nading over into B, trying to net a kill. Skies will kill himself by nading himself on the breach. That's embarrassing. Storms takes down Zilchi on the entry, though, so at least a little bit of a bounce back for Nordik, as Storms is waking up, allowed to play this round. He's been, again, put in a corner, so finally he bares his teeth. Flynn using his second gas canister. Note, mark that his third. He's completely out, trying to hold on to that billiards doorway. Not an easy thing to do with the SMG-11. Storms realizes he can make the entry, gets control, and establishes an angle into the gun vault, allowing Lackey to go for a plant. But there's that silent C4 from below. Storms picks up two more kills, one with a Claymore of all things, and a fourth. Down goes Flynn, and it's all on Silent, who would deny the with the C4 from below, and rotates now up to the B bomb site. Storms is planting the diffuser, so if this aggression comes out now, there won't be an opportunity for the ace, and there's S4 picking up Silent, the final kill. A nice round there, in particular by Storms, but overall, well played to NDK.
He's really been the standout for me, man. The way that Nordik have played around Storms' aggression, and the way that that Storms is able to read a take and then be able to punish the defender that I guess peek at him when they really shouldn't be has been a sight to behold, and is really it's been in terms of consistency Storms versus Quartz, because they have done great jobs at being able to make their own space. And when I say make their own space, I mean they're making a lot of plays without the assistance of others. Storms benefited from great drone work when we looked at Oregon. He's done similar things this time, but a lot of it has been in the late stretch where there isn't much information to go off of. You can go off of the sounds of guns, you can go off of tracers, you can go off of common spots, etc. Quartz has done this time and time again. And honestly, out of all the people in this lobby, Quartz has probably been the best player when it comes to defense. The problem for Mirage is that you're now done your defense and Quartz is going to go on to attack, where he wasn't quite as successful on Oregon. Oh, no. Blood for the blood god, I guess. So, you could see that one coming from a mile away. Anyway, it doesn't look like a single black eye cam was thrown from skies, so you have no intel. That's basically a waste of an operator. Nothing was accomplished by the Valkyrie at that point. It is a permanent 4v5. You can't even turn around and be like, well, at least they got some of their gadgets down and yada, yada, yada. Not the case here.
Yep. That one is also embarrassing. It's been a weird couple rounds, and Nordik are definitely going to be feeling that on their first defense round of all situations. So they're not really going to be able to gauge themselves appropriately on this site, because they'll be down a member and down that member's entire utility set. So this will be weird. Anyway, Lackey's trying to roam over by Statuary. He'll be droned out by Zilchi. Quartz will follow up drone into Statuary and give that verification of the information. As soon as his drone gets there, Silent will hear that and likely adjust. But, oh, it's a drop from Lackey. He gets the heck out of dodge and starts playing by the red staircase. That's probably the right call. He can work with Storms here to try and hold a bottleneck by a landing. And this is a much safer situation for him. But Storms might have been droned out. I'm not sure. Quartz seems aware, as he was trying to pre-fire through that window. He might have just been trying to cut off the rotation of Lackey, assuming he was running through landing. But that's not the case. Whatever the case be, though, it's a downstairs clear for Mirage. They're going to try and hunt down all of the roamers before they start hitting that site. Also, they can open up below and apply a lot of pressure to these bomb sites with silenced ash charges.
This is going to be a heads-up gun duel on the stairs between Lackey and Silent if Silent decides to press the issue. Because the only thing that's keeping Storms from being run over is Lackey, that Jaeger playing just right by him. Unfortunately for the Jaeger, he's not going to be able to do much as the Ash moves on, and both IQ and Ash now over by main stairs and trying to go through the floor that had been opened up earlier and dealing quite a bit of damage in the process to Bozak. With it goes a Goyo shield right in front of Silent as he's now made his way towards the top of main stairs and is going to be just a step or two away from the corner where Bozak is watching quite intently. It's loading, he'll take his position, so there's a change now from Mirage, and Flynn gets very aggressive. S4 has been downed, and Mirage is just cleaning house with still plenty of time left on the clock. That's going to put us in a tough position, but just like that, Silent and Quartz kill the remainder, and in the blink of an eye, Mirage goes from being 4v5 or 5v4 to winning the entire round.
Yeah, that was an interesting round. The way that the execution came out there from Mirage is they started with clearing out by Master, then they rotated downstairs, then they rotated to Study. All the while, through this entire, just, I guess, marathon, they're getting kills, one after another. So, I guess props to Mirage. A very interesting attack, one that worked out well for them. And Nordik, on the other hand, I mean, well, it all started when they team killed their Valkyrie, and it didn't get any better after that. Hopefully, for Nordic's sake, that doesn't happen again. This time, they're not even bringing a Valkyrie, but still, you know, the whole team killing thing, you know, not good. So hopefully that just doesn't happen, especially in the prep phase of all places. It'll be trophy defense next for Nordik. They're not even going to try Aviator again. They decide, okay, yeah, no, that's not our bomb site, and they move on. However, if they can't defend Aviator, that limits their choices on Villa. Living Room, typically a site that is not very well received for the defense. It can be defended, of course. It's just not an easy thing to do. whereas Kitchen is definitely viable. That's still going to limit you to 2 sites you're comfortable on, assuming you're comfortable on Kitchen and Trophy. So it gets harder and harder for you as a defensive team, the less sites, or the fewer sites, I should say, that you're comfortable defending. So we'll see how the Aviator defense goes for Nordik the next time they find themselves there. But we're pretty close to match point, so maybe we don't even get to that point. It's possible that Mirage can lock this one out and push us to a map number 3.
I would say number 3 looks pretty likely, but at the same time, Nordik got off to a good start on their attack.
True.
And then it fizzled, and then Mirage took over, showing exactly what happens when a defending team knows how to play Villa. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, at least just yet. There is a potential for a Nordik comeback. What is certain is that if Nordik is going to come back, they need to win every single round from here on out without going to overtime. There are 5 rounds remaining. Well, 5 rounds puts us at 7-5, which is the scoreline without an OT. So very little room for error unless they want to go the distance. And we saw Oregon we needed all 15 rounds on Oregon. Could see the same thing here. Not entirely sure. And I don't really feel too keen on speculating because we speculated that Mirage was the better team going into this matchup. And, well, on Villa, they look like the better team, but certainly not here on Oregon. First kill is going to go to S4 in the round. Goodbye to Flynn. No Maverick. Your only hard breacher is removed. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, certainly going to work against the attack, and it'll get worse as Skies eliminates Zilchi. I was about to compliment Mirage's vertical play. Their ability to apply pressure, whether from below or rather from below or above on attack through this map, has been pretty admirable. However, it's worked against Mirage in this round, and that's, well, interesting to see. Good read from Nordik to play the angles aggressively, realize that you can just take the fight. It goes both ways, as Devin likes to say. Lackey will get 2 kills by Red Stairs. It's a big double piece, and it's all on Quartz, who, while has been the star of the show for his team and does have the G8, it just doesn't seem likely with a almost full HP 5-man stack. He won't get a chance in the gunfight, as it's Skies get the final kill. And the first flawless round in this series goes to Nordik. We're looking much more solid now.
I mean, how do you recover after you lose your hard breacher on a trophy statuary take?
Right.
What are your options? A, that wall that leads from master in towards statuary isn't getting touched. You can't do anything about it. You can't open up closet, even if you want to try to take closet to head into bathroom either. Those are the 2 primary targets of hard breachers when it comes to that bomb site. Yeah, there's going to be reinforcements over on Astro, but nobody's using their ex-Kairos, exothermic charges, or blowtorch on that wall. It just doesn't happen. So at that point, where do you go? Okay, well, you're going to have to take Astro stairs at that point. You're likely going to have to take the double doors that lead in towards trophy. You're probably going to want to try to take main stairs and then push in through the door to statuary. But how do you recover from that? A new team is not going to know exactly what they're going to need to do to be successful in making that change. So just go for gunfights, hope to win it, and all the disarray that's going to come might land you a kill or 2. But I got to give credit to Nick for just sitting and waiting, watching all the vertical play unfold in front of them, take gunfights through the openings that were created in the floors, and then just pick off Mirage one by one. Really, after Flynn died, the real push from Mirage died, and the round died with it. So reset. Come on in. You're going to be attacking Aviator at this point. You won it last time on round number 7. Do the same thing this time around. Punish Nordik for it. Go to match point. That's my strategy if I'm Mirage.
We'll see if it'll work out that way. Now, for Mirage, they cleared out the northeast side. They came from below, and then they attacked through study the last time they were here. It looks like they're going to be putting a little bit more concerted effort on this study side of things this time, and that's going to be a little bit different.
Sorry, I made a mistake. It was kitchen that Nordik attacked last time.
Oh, okay.
Because it was Quartz with the clutch. Remember?
Yes, I do remember.
Is my brain failing me?
No,
It does from time to time.
You're right. It was Quartz with the clutch. I remember that.
That wasn't one of those times where I just made you tell me I was right because I wanted to hear it.
Okay. No, I'm yes.
Promise.
He clutched in kitchen. It was a 1v3. It was beautiful, and it is basically right now a big part of why we're calling this the Quartz match, the Quartz v Storm. You can call it.
Was it as beautiful as you?
Yeah, probably more so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a really nice play. There's a, I like watching good Siege plays. That's why I'm here.
Right. That's the only reason why I have this job.
Yeah, and then also you, Parker.
Thanks for being there, Michael. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anyway, we're about halfway through round number 9. Match point does await Mirage if they're successful. If not, we have an ever-tightening game. And given the fact that map number 1 went to Nordik, you have to be very happy if you're the orange team right now, because you get the better side of Villa for the remainder of this matchup. When we go to overtime, we'll be able to see who's on defense and who's on attack. We can actually find that information for you in just a second once we pull it up, but let's keep going because we're going to get into the action pretty soon. Mirage clearing down below. They've been able to take some away from the defense. There was a Goyo shield, lots of soft destruction being done, and Flynn encroaching on NDK's territory right by the door in study.
Trying to apply some pressure. He's done some work from this position before. He's managed to get a pick here before, but it's nothing available to him right now. He's doing his best, but it's only Skies who would be exposed, but he's playing safe around the corner in landing, able to just wait out this round as we've only hit 45 seconds left in the round. C4 will miss. Damage done to Skies, so that's a win there for Flynn. He knows where his opponent is as well, and as Quartz picks up a double kill, things are getting pretty desperate here for Nordik on the verge of match point. That was the Valkyrie by landing, and Lackey. Zilchi, a nice peek there. Good kill onto Storms. Another gas canister coming out here, and Bozak does a lot of damage to Zilchi, but the plant is still going down. Flynn will not need to adjust very much. Quartz, a nice shot there, and he's going to get Bozak. S4, though, trying to deny this plant. He'll be successful at least in that, but Quartz gets his 4K, and Mirage clean up the round, putting us to match point.
It really is the Quartz versus Storm show, but Storms has fallen off a little bit in this on Villa, as we saw on map number 1. I am really impressed with Quartz, and Quartz obviously by no means a household name. The 3 bigger names on Mirage, obviously Flynn, Zilchi, and Loading. So Silent and Quartz, this is essentially their debut. This is their audition to be well loved by the community. And if you're somebody that's watching right now, feel free to pay compliments to those that are in the matchup, because one of the best things about the diversification of our competitive play and all the different regionalization is that there's going to be a lot more players that are given a platform and given that exposure and experience that so many have wanted for so long. It's nice to see Quartz be able to step up and battle with the best in all of Canada. So match point in favor of Mirage. They're back on attack. They won. Mirage won Kitchen when they were attacking the last time. Trophy is locked. You're not going to go back to Aviator. Obviously not a comfortable site for Nordik. We're in the bizarro world right now where Mirage looks like they're going to win Nordik's map pick, and Nordik eked out a victory on Mirage's map pick. So we can turn towards Cafe should we need it, but Mirage was up 6-3 last time, Michael, and they lost the map. So who knows with these two teams? Unpredictability has been the name of the game. It was the name of the game in the US division match that we casted yesterday, and is now very much the name of the game here as well.
Yeah.
10 seconds left.
In particular, I'm making note of Quartz's performance through this series, not just in the first map, but in the second map. I mean, especially here now. So we're going the distance, Parker. I'm really expecting us to go the distance. We could get pushed to OT here possibly by Nordik, but I really don't see that as likely. They can't go to their comfortable bomb site, and I don't know why the GN is in the chat right now. Would I miss something? Was I like... I don't know what I missed, but Quartz calling out the GN for some reason. I mean, he is dropping 14 kills, but it's not done yet, man. Come on. We're not finished. Not sure what was
I'm not
going on
exactly sure. I'm trying to look at like utility, if anything was... there was a nitro cell from Storms that was thrown out that maybe Quartz shot, and that's why he's saying goodnight.
Could have been that.
Could be that Storms threw a nitro cell and it got shot in midair by Quartz. I'm not sure.
Nice engagement there. Storms will fall back with 25-ish HP, and that's not going to make it very easy for him to win these future gunfights, especially with the UMP. He doesn't have a C4 either, so he effectively is going to primarily be information. It looks like the Doc is trying to heal from above, but S4 says no, or sorry, Storm says, no, I can't go over there. It's not safe. You're just going to have to let me play with low HP. We'll see what he can work with that. Half the round yet for Mirage to execute onto the bomb site, and with the HP advantage and almost control advantage if Zilchi gets cop floor. Things are looking pretty good. Lackey and Bosak trying to deny top floor. Actually, even S4 up here. A heavy upstairs roam. A lot of this round will hinge on Nordik's ability to control the top floor.
There goes the proximity alarm, as it sounds like Quartz is going to be spotted out. He'll do some damage through the soft wall after shrugging off a bit of damage from the UMP, and then more being done from above as Nordik tries to stay alive and keep themselves in this matchup. Opening pick goes to Bozak, down goes Quartz, and honestly, with the way that Mirage has been playing, it's hard to not think that their likelihood of winning this round has just essentially disappeared. But crazier things have obviously happened. A grenade drops on the head of Storms, but he survives. He's now in a battle to the death with Flynn just outside of the bike room, playing in Memorial. There goes another grenade. Flynn obviously not having any intel. All you need to do is hold that angle and a pre-fire from Flynn, but he misses. Oh no! Storms gets one, immediately looks away, but lucky for Flynn, Zilchi was there. 2 kills for him with Silent on the board as well. And the lead that Nordik had here is entirely gone. Mirage has this round within striking distance. Plant from Silent going down, falling off for just a second because he goes to fragging instead, and he'll find Bozak. The Doc of S4 in a 1v2. Diffuser going down. He sees the Nomad. Could we have a clutch potential from S4, or will it be map number 3? The positioning of Silent given away as he pops up for just a second, stunning the Doc of S4. Marks coming in, spam pings. You know how tempting this is to try and take the fight, but right now Silent isn't giving an inch. Diffuser at almost halfway. No way Mirage wins it. That's a GG. And Silent sitting top of that Diffuser. He's good enough. Map 3, inline, beautiful play onto the Dock.
On screen with the magnificent beard is Flynn, and that'll be his team, Mirage, taking that map. So we go all the way. We're going to map number 3. I, for one, am pretty excited for that. We got some close competition there. It looked like Bozak maybe fell asleep a little bit. The same way we had Mirage lose their top fragger loading in the map number 1. Quartz, what an impressive performance as an individual. 14 kills, which is far above what anyone else could get in that map.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Quartz, and I've continuously been impressed with him so far over these 2 maps. But we've got Cafe right up next. So there's going to be a lot to discuss, but first, we have a break for you ready before we can get map number 3 underway.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Kix and Intero, and what a map 2 on Villa. Mirage taking it there. And Kix, Villa was Nordic's map pick, but they did not perform well.
Yeah, they certainly didn't. The vertical play from Mirage was just stellar. Their ability to always be applying pressure to the roamers, corral them as well on attack was especially exceptional. You expect Nordik to be better on, as you said, their map pick, but it just was not the case. I think a big part of that is what I was talking about earlier in this show, where you have a situation, both of these teams might know some things about each other, but they don't really know because they haven't had an opportunity to play against each other at this level just yet. So as much as this is a day of discovery for us, these teams are discovering each other in terms of their map preference, and I think we've just established that Mirage really likes Villa.
And Parker, you said it was the Quartz versus Storm show. They both had stand-up performances.
Yeah, they did. I mean, honestly, Quartz was a monster on defense. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody that his stats were really good on it. But he showed up on attack, too. And the thing with Mirage is that on Oregon, when their players fell asleep, they really fell off on Oregon hard. The only person that was running up any kills, any tally, etc. on that map was Quartz through the later half. A greater team effort from Mirage was really the difference maker on Villa, and if you're going to want to win Cafe, you're going to need everybody to show up, not just Quartz.
How are you both feeling about map 3, leaning towards one team over the other? Kix, I'll start with you.
Well, I gotta say, it seems like Mirage shook off what happened to them in map number 1. They've rebuilt their confidence. For me, it's too hard to call, though. We've still got a potential for Nordik to really show up. It looks like Nordik was kind of uncomfortable on Villa, which is weird. I don't know why they decided to go to Villa as a result. And because of all this, lack of information, it seems it's really going to come down to who's more comfortable on the map, because both of these teams are clearly capable of fragging. They're clearly capable of strategizing. Who's done more practice on Cafe? That's all it's going to come down to. And since we don't really know, we're just going to have to wait and find out.
Intero?
Oh my goodness.
Putting you in the hot seat.
I have to pick Mirage and Nordik. That's just how it works, hey?
Yeah, who are you leaning towards?
I mean, after that one, I got to go back to Mirage because Villa is supposed to be a well-structured map. It should have worked for Nordik in the way that they played, but honestly, Mirage had a lot more structure than I had thought. And when you go to a map like Cafe, I think it's a good blend of unpredictability versus strats, and I think that Mirage will probably have the edge in that regard, unless we see literally everybody from Nordik just come alive in terms of gun skill, and then it'll probably be in their favor, but I'm going to tip to Mirage.
All right, thanks so much, gentlemen, and let's get map 3 underway. We have a short break, but we will be right back.
Here we go now.
All right, well, it's time to wrap things up for our very final map between Mirage and Nordik. Surprising most people, Nordik stole Mirage's map pick away from them on Oregon, but then Mirage surged back and took Nordik's map on Villa. The ultimate tiebreaker unfolds in front of us as we have Cafe Dostoevsky to settle this one between these two teams.
When you've got two teams that take maps away from each other, it really does go to show that either is capable of taking the series as a whole. Because of that, going into this, there's still as much indecision and, I guess, unknown as when we started the series in the first place. Mirage and Nordik now going to be put toe-to-toe on the last map, their last chance. We'll find the ban phase. We'll get this done. It's going to change a lot about how this map is going to be played. We'll see a lot of Thatcher bans on Cafe, which will often slow down the attack, and that'll be the first ban right off the cuff there from Mirage. Nordik will follow it up with their attacker ban, a slightly less relevant ban. Thatcher bans are probably one of those game-changing bans you can have right now, and it'll be followed up by a buck of all things. That's quite interesting. It actually makes sense, though. I mean, we saw it in Villa. The vertical play from Mirage was pretty awesome, and Buck is a known quantity on Cafe. He can be extremely powerful, especially on the bottom floor. You can substitute a sledge in. It'll just be a little bit slower. Mira also getting banned out, as she has been banned for, I believe, all three of these maps. Both of these teams clearly still worried about her as a possibility. And our last ban, probably, I'm just going to guess a Valkyrie. Nope, it's a Kaid. All right, well, that makes sense as well. We've seen a lot of great Kaid play, especially on Oregon from both of these teams. And clearly, Mirage just doesn't want to deal with that anymore, especially considering they also banned out the Thatcher, which makes dealing with that Kaid oh so very difficult.
Yeah, pretty sensible stuff with those bans. But I mean, you ban a Thatcher and then you ban the Kaid. Okay, you know how you're going to want to play this one. So we'll see what comes about with it. Very first defense looks lined up for Cocktail, which is that top floor defense, third floors. There's no basement obviously present on Cafe. A lot of teams instead opting to go onto the first floor, to go down to kitchen, and that's where they want to be their home in the most easily defended bomb site. We've seen Cocktail come out every now and then, but it's definitely not as strong as it used to be. And that leads me to believe that if you're going to the old default bomb site, there could be a lack of strategy as to how to defend other bomb sites instead. This will, of course, play out over the 7 rounds that we need at minimum before we go through the remainder of the map. Anyway, so an upstairs bomb site, when you look at what's being brought from the defenders, it's a lot of utility that you're going to need to work towards to get rid of. In terms of, there's going to be the magnets on the board. They're going to stop your projectiles. They're going to stop your stuns. They're going to stop your grenades. You've got the ADSs that are going to do the exact same thing. And then you've got the evil eye cams that are in play from not loading's Maestro. Obviously, you want to set it up so that the ADSs and the magnets from the Wamai protect those evil eyes quite well, and we'll see if that's the case. It looks like there's an evil eye getting put down right now on top of the podium by the piano.
That'll probably be a good tool to use to delay when it comes to that piano push, which is obviously, as if you've ever watched Cafe played in competitive, you know what I'm talking about. Always, you're going to have the attack clearing from top red into piano. Not all the way using that as the attack route. Sometimes they'll divert over to the main bar once they have that control. But it's something that must be cleared before you start pushing the site. Now, occasionally you get those ease takes, but it's just rare. Lackey will be downed. Good read there, I believe, by Quartz, who was playing underneath the new drop down. And he'll do a substantial amount of damage to the sledge, who, yes, gets recovered, but still, that'll hurt Lackey's lethality in future engagements.
Yeah, that's 80 HP that you're not able to get back, and obviously that can mean a hell of a lot in a gunfight. Yes, a bullet to the head is an insta-kill, Rainbow Six Siege, but if you're trying to survive an abundance of body shots, well, you're going to find yourself in a really rough spot. There goes one of those firebolts over towards Pixel spot by Bench in piano. It doesn't look like it hits what it was intended to do. A frag grenade gets tossed in from Lackey. He's used both of his explosives now, and none of them have done a single thing. So Mirage can sit quite pretty knowing that a firebolt and 2 frag grenades from Nordik really didn't do anything at all.
Yeah, that firebolt was missed. It actually hit the front of the shield, which was weird. And at the same time, Nordik have gotten control of Pixel Spot, so that's the goal. Mirage still fell off of it, but that's utility that, I mean, didn't even hit its mark. So that tells us something, even if it doesn't actually influence the round overall. Free-play C4 there from Silent. He's trying to catch someone, I believe, by the couches. Lackey will be there, but he'll back up in the nick of time. His Spidey sense tingling there, and fallback will allow him to keep his life. Lackey has really been the victim of every single aggressive play Mirage has been putting out. And he will be for the third time the victim of an aggressive play. Loading will line up the shot and land it. Lackey goes down.
All right, well, finally, Lackey was just evading death that entire time. Not today, he said. Anyway, there goes Skies as Quartz comes alive. He's playing deep inside a cocktail, and Diffuser is also down, will need to be picked back up inside a piano. But anybody who tries to do so is finding themselves dead at the hands of Mirage. Next in line is Bozak. He'll have to go prone in order to get into the back storage. And oh my, no way he loses this fight to the Jaeger. That is such poor timing. Neither of them able to land their shots, but Zilchi pushes up, not able to do too much as Bozak takes him down, and then two members of Mirage clean up the rest of the round. Mirage will go up 1-0.
Well done there to the defense for holding it out. The aggressive plays, I know 3 of them landed on Lackey. So I first of all, I feel bad for him. But second of all, those aggressive plays did give the edge to the defense, to Mirage. I love their choice of plays. I love the way that they were going for those sorts of things, like the C4 from below, or Jaeger peeking onto New Hatch. But they didn't leave themselves too vulnerable while doing those things. The Valkyrie probably would have fallen back if anyone was pressuring her downstairs. Nobody was. The Jaeger fell back as soon as his initial spray was out. He didn't even try to secure the kill. He knew he couldn't. He just played safe, fell back, and Loading was playing an angle from heaven that many players are actually not used to dealing with. Oh, and he managed to get that final bullet onto Lackey to start off the round for his team. And I think the pressure that Lackey must have been feeling and his inability to participate in the round is going to not only eliminate a player in terms of man count, but is going to check him out mentally for that whole round because of how much he had to deal with. And that puts it into a much more definitive 5v4. Just starting off well there for Mirage, but it ended well as because the bottleneck play really worked out for Mirage. I mean, sometimes it's not a whole lot more complicated than that. If you don't have Nordik bringing or using their tools correctly to kind of alleviate those holds, then I mean, Mirage is set up to hold the bottlenecks because, duh, they would be. And it's harder for Mirage to lose those heads-up gunfights because it's straight advantage for them on those 90-degree angles. I don't know. There's not much else to say. As Nordik started trying to push the site, they fell flat. And that's it.
So with that wrapped up nicely with a bow on, round number 2 underway. And here is the default for most teams. It's a kitchen bakery defense down below. I guess technically it's not bakery anymore since the bomb site's not in bakery, but that's just old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we call it kitchen bakery, but that's just a holdover from when the bomb was literally in the bakery right by the front door. Now they're both obviously in kitchen, so it's the double kitchen. It's the dreaded kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I think that some people call... No, it is. It's just the kitchen. It's weird.
Anyway, like most good teams, you start on the top and you clear down. So that's exactly where the soft destruction of Nordik is going to go, and you can just see some renovations being done up top. Sledge swinging away wildly. It has actually been quite striking, Michael, how little buck play we've seen in comparison to the days of old when he had the frag grenades. Sledge has definitely surged in terms of pick rate, and it's something that we can keep an eye on when the stats are inevitably released for the first week of play days all across the world and the regions that are playing right now.
Well, the array for Mirage is mostly centered downstairs. They've got a solid setup here, it seems, but they got to be worried about this pressure that's going to be applied by Lackey. An aggressive play by the Maestro of Flynn. He's actually gotten into prep and is holding an angle into Bakery. This could see him really easily dispatched, but because Nordik is not actually taking control of Bakery yet, it's unlikely. It's a weird attack right now from Nordik. If they want to take Bakery control, they really need to do it sooner rather than later. It looks like that's what they're trying to do right now. Some really poorly placed shots there from Lackey will result in Flynn getting out without any damage taken. And he'll be able to continue to influence the round.
There goes the Hibana X Kairos on the wall. It's been a while since we saw both Hibana and Thermite played consistently because of the bans in map number 2. So it's nice to see that hard destruction back. And Maverick will also likely be a staple through most of this, as now the top floor control has shifted down to the second floor and will continue to push its way down into the first floor. With Zilchi taking out Lackey, the Ashe has been down now as well. So Mirage have the opening pick that they need and possibly more, especially if that information goes to Zilchi. So the Ashe will crawl away looking for some assistance as, well, right now, Nordik is inside of the bomb site, just by the front of Prep planting by that kitchen bomb. It's Skies, and he looks like he'll actually be able to get it off. No! At the last second, he gets destroyed by a Nitro Cell. Storm's still bleeding out, so it's just S4 and, well, nobody, actually. Literally took the words right out of my mouth. Sorry, I was trying to paint a picture, and then everybody died. Mirage takes the round 2-0.
Well done there to Mirage, and it's okay, Parker. I clearly saw
And
your... What?
That's like where you're in the middle of casting and everybody dies and you're like, and I, oop, oop.
Whoopsie, they're all dead.
Whoopsies, they're all dead.
I do that. I've ooped before. Oop. Oh, okay. They're all gone. Yeah. No, but it was interesting. I mean, it was a pretty standard round, actually, for Mirage. The one thing that I have to say against Nordik there is the way that they decided not to take Bakery early on. Because they clearly wanted to use Bakery, and they did end up using Bakery as the launching point for their attack. But if you're going to do that, it's the same principle as like a consulate basement attack, okay? If you're attacking consulate basement, yes, vertical destruction is essential. You're going to want to open up and deny angles. That makes it easier for you to push in the garage. But you also have to open the garage. So if you're going to go for a Bakery attack, and you're going to use top-down pressure, that's great. That top-down pressure is huge. Not really a whole lot came of it in that round. Nordik, honestly, a little bit lackluster when it comes to their ability to get kills through those holes. But let's just toss that aside, as that it's definitely relevant, but let's just focus also on the fact that it took them forever to get Bakery. And because of how much time it took them to get Bakery, they weren't really able to do a whole lot with it once they got it. And so this combination of a lackluster vertical play and then a lackluster clear in through Bakery, or a delayed clear in through Bakery, resulted in little time for Nordik to execute under the site and no pressure applied to the anchors. No picks, nothing really solid at all. So Mirage had to have been feeling pretty darn comfortable, especially Flynn, who he got aggressive in prep, then walked all the way through both of the kitchens completely unscathed while Bakery was being cleared and the holes were opened up from above. I don't know. It was a huge oversight from Nordik. Just that one play.
I mean, one mistake can literally unravel an entire round. We can go back to Oregon when Flynn gave up his post inside of Bunker Blue, or whatever you're calling it nowadays, and it led to 2 players on his team immediately being killed by Storms realizing that he had a clear avenue towards the bomb site. That's all it took, was literally one set of eyes looking elsewhere, and the whole round was gone. Just totally thrown in the bin. So don't ever underestimate how much a single person's contribution can make to, you know, whether a team wins or not. Yeah. Anywho, we are a minute in now to round number 3. The bomb site is Reading Room. That's on the second floor. And once again, it's going to be a clear up top. On this third floor, unsurprisingly, the same path being taken right now by Nordik as they start over in Piano. But the difference here is that Mirage looks to be quite aggressive as to how they're going to hold it. And they walk away with the kill onto S4. Down goes the Hibana. Things are going to get more challenging for Nordik because their hard breach is now just a Maverick. And it's still very doable, but it's not exactly where you want to be as an attacking team.
No, it's certainly not. It's taken way too long for Nordik to clear out what they have gotten of the top floor, and there's only a minute left for them to get the remainder, with still 3 roamers up top. Loading, trying to apply pressure to the player in back bar storage, but he'll lose the fight out to Storms. Nice shot there from Storms, and he can get aggressive on Cocktail as a result. You can see Quartz will fall back as he knows his job is just to delay, but he's also fallen back into a corner. He's not going to get out of there. He is a dead man. It's only a matter of time. That is assuming that they can win their fights. What a shot from Bozak as he lands the headshot onto Quartz. That's going to leave silent the last top floor roamer, and he's going to have fallen back to White Stairs. He does not have anything he can do to indirectly damage his opponent. He's going to have to take the fight directly, but he'll fall even further back. He knows that 30 seconds is not a lot of time for Nordik to work with, and he can just wait this out. The patience is going to be key for Mirage. No indirect denial at all, as Flynn has used his C4. So they're going to have to be careful about this push that's about to come in through the reading door. Lackey gets the castle open. He's going to rappel back upstairs to try and apply vertical pressure, hopefully hold it in a post plant for his team. Great timing from Storms as the angle's no longer being held. There's 2 for Nordik, in fact, leaving just Flynn. He'll need to deny that plant. Bozak on the plant. In pillars, Flynn can't win the fight, and Lackey will lock out that round. Great adjustment there from Nordik, and, well, they'll take their execution onto reading.
That boiled down to the final seconds of the round, and everything was going in favor of Nordik, and it continued to do so. They had great coverage after they opened up that 3rd floor. That shot from, I believe it was Bozak of the Zofia, was really impeccable, and then from it, they were able to drop the hatch. They had control of laundry. There was no awareness whatsoever from Mirage. Whether there's just no intel or there were no calls that went out, I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, Mirage lost the plot of the round, the final 40 seconds, and then forfeited upstairs control, forcing the remaining defenders, who at that point, it ultimately just ended up being Flynn at the final seconds, had to go for the long rotate around pillars, to which there is a wall that you cannot shoot through. The walls that you can shoot through are likely reinforced. You can't do that much with it. All hope is lost at that point. It's a 1v3. Okay, cool. You've got an SMG-11. You take out one person, you're likely going to have to go for a reload, but at that point, jig is up. They know exactly where you are. We've seen crazy clutches in this match so far, so it was winnable, but Flynn just couldn't make it happen. Unfortunately for him, it gave the round to Nordik, who are looking to try and equalize in round number 4. Back upstairs to Cocktail. This was round number 1's bomb site, and it went quite successfully in Mirage's favor, and then Mirage won Kitchen downstairs with a flawless round. I'm interested to know your thoughts here. In order to be more consistent with their attacks, is there one gleaming weakness or one glaring weakness that you see with Nordics?
5 seconds to insertion.
They're not reading their opponent very well. Their early information gathering, or their just information gathering in general, has been pretty lackluster. I'd say that Nordik need to place a little bit more thought into their droning or into their general information gathering. It could be through things like IQ and going over the roof and trying to map things out for their team. It could be down to their communication. It could be down to a whole lot of things, but the reaction to information that is gathered is slow on Nordik, and the information that is being gathered in the first place is, I mean, quite low, I guess. Not a whole lot compared to many other teams, or what I'm used to seeing. So for them, for Nordik, I would prioritize that information gathering. I would prioritize that communication. It's not the only thing, of course. They miss out on some really basic stuff. Like, I mean, right now, what are they trying to do? They're trying to Capital Firebolt onto Pixel. It's taking them a pretty long time. Last time they even missed their Firebolt. You know, that's a pretty basic mistake they also need to fix up. And there you go. They're learning from their mistakes actively. That Firebolt went, I think, actually, no. No, sorry. I spoke too soon. The Firebolt somehow went into bathroom, and the second one will go too far. So, okay, that's something that they need to practice. That is something you go into a custom game, you line up the shot, and you figure out where that bolt exactly needs to be aimed in order to get the player in pixel. At least they get the kill. Great shot there from S4, and Zilchi will go down.
So, you find these teams right back where they were, and this has been happening on every single map so far, where an early pick is answered right away, and nobody has a sustained advantage, at least not as much as they might want. Almost an opportunity for Mirage to get that advantage, though, as the fadeaway shot from Quartz nets a lot of HP on Storms, but not enough to take him out of the fight. So the Ashe main will continue to do damage, even though she's worse for wear. That's fine. Right now, Mirage still very heavily invested over towards the top of White Stairs, as Silent is going to play near Freezer. You're going to need to open up those panels inside of Piano ASAP if you're Nordik. Quartz putting some damage into Bosak. I don't know how the Zofia was able to wrap around that far, but over towards Cocktail, that's a hell of a place to be if you're an attacker.
That's a poor loss there for Bozak. He was prone on an angle I think was opened up by Skies, and still somehow managed to lose it. Quartz will get downed and finish off, though, loading from Cocktail. Or actually just pushed into the main bar, will take down Storms. Trying to challenge, and he'll get a second one. Impressive stuff from loading. A dangerous challenge, but he wins it regardless. S4 now, the last attacker. He's got to find 3 more. Not going to be an easy task, that's for sure. Slow peeking over by New. He's pick up that diffuser. Now, he does have 2 smoke bolts, but no fire bolts to speak of. Aggression from the Maestro works out again. Loading picks up another big kill, and Mirage will take their defense on the top floor with a solid hold.
Alda, by the way, doing what Alda does best, which is just lighting everybody up with 80 bullets. It's just a fury in that angle. I am a little confused as to why we didn't see Nordik bring more than just a Maverick. I'm guessing that their idea was, let's just open the piano wall and that's it. We don't really need too much. But I would have liked to have maybe seen either a Thermite or a Thatcher. Also, I want to correct myself because I did notice this. I noticed this 2 rounds ago when I talked about it, and I wanted to say it at the time, but right as I finished saying, I was like, oh no, people are going to misinterpret this. They're going to think I totally misspoke. Fair enough, maybe I did. I was talking about how we hadn't really seen Buck at all across all 3 maps. I know that he's banned in this map, but I was more so remarking because we were watching Sledge go to work. I didn't want somebody being like, oh, well, the reason why you're not seeing him here through 1 round is because Buck is banned. Thank you very much. I get it. I understand how bans work. I wanted to make a point of it from earlier, but... You ever just say things and then you hear yourself say it and you're like, I really wish I could clarify this right now in the cast, and because you know that at that point people are going to think that you just have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's never as easy as you would think it is, because like professionalism dictates that you don't interrupt your co-commentator as much as you can, right? So like when you're going
like
through
this?
the casting flow, like you need to let the other person pick up where you leave off, and then you're like, oh wait, I said something stupid, and you're like, oh no. And you want to say something, but you just can't. It's not appropriate. It's weird.
It was like, there have been times in the past where we've been talking about operator bans, and I'll be like, yeah, you know, I think that like a Hibana or a Thatcher really makes this helpful, blah, 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 blah. And then like Hibana's banned, for example, and somebody be like, well, of course you don't see a Hibana because it's banned. And it's like, well, that's not what I'm talking about. I promise you, I know.
Yeah, it all comes down to, in that case, you're just trying to be theoretical. I get you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyhow.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird interpreting things on the fly, but we'll figure it out. The one thing that I miss is like the body language, you know, like the stuff that's nonverbal communication. That's what I miss.
I miss the fist bumps.
Yeah.
I miss the fist bumps and the hand signals that we created anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we're getting distracted.
I was down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we really got lost there. Nordik clearing out the top floor, and this will be done at not a leisurely pace, a pretty solid one. I've talked about this before. If you get up to the roof with 45 seconds, you spend it in the round, that's about average. Any more than that, and it's bad. I'd say that at this rate, Nordik are doing pretty well at clearing out that top floor. There isn't anyone roaming upstairs, as it is a basement, well, not basement, but a bottom floor defense for Mirage.
I did that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not a hard mistake to make. But yeah, the hold is all downstairs, and Nordik are already opening up in the middle floor. So this is some pretty quick stuff here from the attack, actually, I'd say. It looked like they were starting off slow, but they've since sped up.
This, I think, is a faster pace at the halfway mark than what we saw out of the last kitchen take. But I mean, that could be recency bias, but it certainly feels like they have a better idea of what they're doing. And if you're not exactly the most comfortable on this map, then it's going to take you 1 or 2 takes before you've really got your feet under you. The other thing, too, is that Mirage have lost loading, or at least is downed inside a bakery, and they're going to try to finish him off. I don't know if they're aware that they have him down but not out. Storms picks up 1 kill onto Quartz, and loading finished off by a frag grenade tossed on in, and that is a worthwhile use of the explosive. So, Nordik, they're looking to try to take as many rounds from Mirage. You can't do worse than tie on this first half. Problem being, it's a first half on defense. You want to be able to take 4 rounds at minimum on Cafe, at least with the way that it's played out now. Getting into the cut and thrust of the round, as this advantage from Nordics will go well for them through the remaining 30 seconds. A grenade will do some damage to Lackey, but ultimately do more to Zilchi. Storms a second kill for him. The SMG of Flynn, unable to do much, as S4 gets the very final kill. A flawless round to answer Mirage's flawless round on this bomb site after round 2. Still the advantage in Mirage's favor. It's 3-2 for them on their very final defense.
As you would expect in a 3-map series, this one is certainly going all the way, at least so far. I could definitely see this ending in a 3-3 for the first half, and then we have a battle all the way to OT for this final map. If you are just tuning in, both of these teams have managed to take one map so far in the series. That's what those white ticks at the top of the screen mean. And thus, the winner of this map will take the whole series overall. Kitchen is the next defense for Mirage. They tried it last round. It didn't just fail, it fell flat on its face. Good results from Nordik. I'm impressed by their ability to learn, because the last time before that previous round, Nordik tried to attack onto Kitchen. It was just as dominant, but in the opposite direction. Mirage really locked that one up. So, I don't know. Good learning there from Nordik. Good adaptation, good on-the-fly thinking. I'm curious to see what Mirage's response is going to be, or if they'll even have one. Many teams, when put in that position, will just be like, oh no, we can do it. We know what we did wrong, and they don't actually. They go in, and the same exact thing happens. If that is the case, of course, Nordik brings us to that 3-3, and suddenly things are looking much worse for Mirage. Remember, this is Cafe. You really should be taking as many defensive rounds as possible. 4-2 out of the first half is about even. That doesn't favor either team. But a 3-3 favors the attack as they transition onto defense. Ooh,
That was a point that I'd brought up very briefly on the previous round, but didn't really elucidate on, expand on. So, yeah, I mean, for people that are relatively new, if you're a fan of either of these teams, the win condition for Mirage on their half of defense is to get to 4 rounds. There you go. You've accomplished basically what you want. Now, we also speculated similar things on Villa. On Mirage's defense, they emerged 4-2, but then were quite sharp on attack as well. So if Mirage can manage to take 4 rounds here, maybe they'll do well on attack. I mean, Villa, they flipped the script. On a more defender-sided map on Villa, or at least has been historically, Nordik only managed to win 1 defense over the span of the 4 that they attempted on. Obviously, the same thing is very possible here on Cafe. And there hasn't really been anything that's given, to me, an impression that either of these teams have a very indisputable upper hand. Both of these teams have been relatively even, I would say, and it's really come down to a couple gunfights that have changed the course of this game. That's it. Both these teams have decent and solid fundamentals, and it really is anybody's match still.
You know what's interesting? Loading was asleep for map number 2. I think he got like a few kills around there for the whole series, and that's one that went all the way in OT. But he was really, or not, actually, I don't think it did. But anyway, sorry, he was really awake for map number 1. Mirage lost it. He fell asleep in map number 2. He's woken back up as the top fragger here in map number 3. Now, the question is he going to fall asleep mid-match once again? And is that going to cripple Mirage's chances of taking the series? Again, when you've got a player picking up the slack and picking up those kills, and then suddenly he just stops, it can seriously hinder your ability to win rounds as a team, as it changes the pacing of everything else that happens in the round for the rest of your players. So I'm curious to see how that plans out. I'm curious to see if Loading's going to be able to carry that one all the way through, as he failed to do in map number 1. But, you know, and I'm also wondering, is Quartz going to be the one who steps up to intervene and to pick up those kills in the middle of the match? Because right now, he hasn't had his chance. I'm wondering if that chance will come. Zilchi will be the first casualty, though, this round as we hit the last 35 seconds.
A very, very quick round as Silent gets in on it as well. Down goes Bozak, so... well, everybody's back at a 4v4, and work being done on the kitchen wall to try and open up that freezer and gain clearer access. And with the typical kitchen defense, it's going to be a Maestro or somebody with a heavy artillery waiting in this position. Not Loading is right next to him, waiting for them to breach on in, and there they go. They'll manage to survive the fight to start with, but then Flynn is just going to chew right through them. He does significant damage. Loading has his back, looking for another to go on in. His Storms is going to push from the side, but Mirage manages to win it, and a rehost is called from Nordik. Regardless, it's a 4-2 scoreline at the end of the first half, and whether we have a rehost or not, we'll see exactly what they're calling for.
Yeah, we'll find out what that is, but what we do know is the rehost has been called for, so you'll come back to us while we wait for some information, figuring out exactly what's going on. The score should be 4-2, though. I mean, unless we get some kind of, maybe a skin violation or something. I mean, we've had a surprisingly large amount of those over the last few play days across all the regions, and it's interesting to see. I really hope that's not the case. I for one, am kind of tired of replaying rounds. I don't know about you, Parker.
I can echo those sentiments completely and say that I would like to see people get their professional gamer cosmetics on their professional gamer accounts in order for their professional gamer leagues. So we have no idea what the rehost is for, by the way. No clue at all. It could have been a sound issue, could have been a bug.
We don't know.
It could have been anything, really. I mean, teams call for rehosts and then they hash it out with the admins in secret in the shadowy tunnels and rooms of professional Rainbow Six. But we'll find out, and I'm sure we'll get communication, and we'll toss it to you the moment that we know, obviously.
Yeah.
In the interim, let's continue onward, assuming that Mirage won that round. It was a 4-2 in favor of Mirage. Well, I mean, and they're on defense. That's exactly where you want to be if you're Mirage.
Yeah, it certainly is. 4-2 is solid. They'll transition onto attack now, and we'll see if they can, finish up this map. But we don't know necessarily if everything's going to pick up where it left off. We're just waiting for more information. In the meantime, what we've been seeing so far, I'd say, has been more of the same, really, through the whole series. A lot of close competition, and 4-2 is a bit of a deceptive scoreline on a map like Cafe. It's a very close scoreline for Cafe, so it's not necessarily something that reflects too poorly on the attackers. They could definitely pick it up as they transition over to defense. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of just a solid half for Mirage.
Yeah, I mean, nothing was too outside of the ordinary there with the way that we saw teams attacking and we saw the teams defending, team rather attacking and team defending. You know what I mean. But basically, you take from the third floor, you make sure it's cleared out, you leave one or two soft destructors up there, a Sledge and Ash, whoever you want, a Zofia maybe, you have the Hard Breacher go for the main floor, second floor, or third floor, depending on wherever the bomb site is. They do their job while accompanied by one, and then as defenders, you have somebody play off site just to hold map control. Usually involves the stairwells, or at least very close to the stairwells, and that's really it. That's all you need to do. And things played out. There weren't any really strange strats that we saw. No operators out of place. We didn't see any windows getting broken open and people jumping out or swinging out like the Hardy Boys off of the top rope. None of the stuff like that. So it was a very static Cafe, and it really just played to fragging potential. And I noted, I think it was either the fourth or fifth round, I said that really nothing remarkable had happened. It was very standard Cafe play, and a lot of the interactions came down to just straight up gunfights. An opening duel on a defender that swings and loses the gunfight to the attacker gives the attackers greater confidence to push forward. This is in stark contrast, Michael, to what we saw on Villa and Oregon, where teams were winning opening duels, but then making lots of mistakes, were getting quite sloppy and losing their advantage in the long run. Cafe, most of the interaction has gone down in the final 20 seconds, that fabled 20-second meta, with very limited objective play. So this has been the most normal and predictable of the three maps thus far, and I think that's exactly what you need to see, given that we are now in the home stretch. Either Mirage or Nordik to take the series.
Yeah, I'd say that there's certainly been, as you mentioned, a return to normalcy here, at least when it comes to the way that Cafe is being played out. It's interesting to watch as these teams have shifted gears just a little bit. For those of you wondering what's going on, though, we had some technical issues with some of the players' PCs, so with Nordik specifically. So we just had to give them a moment to see if they can fix that up. We are bringing everybody back into the lobby now, so we should be able to get underway shortly, or hopefully we will be able to. But as far as I know, the rounds will stand as they are, so we should just pick right back up where we left off. As we transition through the halves, it'll be Mirage going on to attack with the advantage of 4-2. And that should be what we end up doing, but we'll find out when we actually load into the match. What we do know is that the advantage that Mirage has right now is quite substantial. And as they transition on to attack, the big question mark is, how are their attacks going to play out? Because attacking is so very different, and having a defensive setup is a very separate thing from being able to attack that very same defensive setup if it's reflected by your opponent or something completely different. So the practice again is going to come forward here. It's going to be a little bit more obvious how much time has been invested into this map, at least on Mirage's side. And on the other hand, Nordik, they can get a little bit more relaxed. They can just take a step back and play defense as defense is intended. Just a little bit more passive, a little bit more, less pressure put on your shoulders.
I really wish that camera shot of Flynn involved the way that he plays this game, because he holds his mouse and keyboard at probably the strangest angles I've ever seen. So he puts his keyboard at a very, like, you know how most people play with their keyboard turned to a certain direction, right? He turns it the other way. So it points away from him instead of towards him, as a lot of players do. His keyboard points away from him, and then underneath it, he puts his mouse. Yes, his mouse, his right hand that he uses for his mouse, is underneath his keyboard, directly below it. It's very, very odd to watch the way that he holds it. And I wish that there was a way for people to see, because I remember when they were in Challenger League last season, I remember watching him play a game when I went to Montreal, and it was wild. Anyway. This is, we're told, Storms from Nordik, so you get a good perspective of both teams as the screen changes go to show you that we are now in-game. So without any further ado, we have, at minimum, 3 rounds to go, likely longer, knowing how evenly matched these two teams are, and we're not going to waste any of your time. We're going to get right in to the very first attack for Mirage and the very first defense for Nordik.
All right, it will be the top floor to start off this second half. We'll see what Nordik can do here. They'll be bringing a pretty standard lineup, the Wamai Jaeger combination, coupled with the castle. You know what's interesting, Parker, is the game continues to get more and more complex when it comes to the operators. They become less and less relevant. And when you pick something, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, that has an influence over things, but less of a significant one. Like, for example, we've got a Nomad, right? They've brought a Nomad to watch their flank, but, they alternatively could have brought a Gridlock to accomplish the same goal, and sometimes teams just won't bring either because there's so many other things, so many other tools that they might need to bring. And I've just noticed over time, as the game, again, continues to get more complicated, it has become less of a relevant conversation what operators are being picked. They're always going to be relevant, but it seems like it almost influences the round to a lesser extent. I remember a time when we were talking about the operator selection, like, deep into each and every round, because it continued to be such a momentous thing. And it still is, of course, just, it's like it's changed somehow, Parker. Maybe it's all in my head.
5 seconds to insertion.
I don't know, Michael. Maybe it is.
Attacker's objective
Who
is to
knows?
defuse a bomb.
Maybe it is all in your head.
Could be. I do have a head, and it has thoughts occasionally.
There
So-
might be something in it, like a brain, maybe.
I'm not.
Eyes,
I'm not
a
sure,
skull?
Parker. I'm not sure.
A skull, maybe.
No, I'm pretty sure that my exoskeleton accounts for my structural integrity in my head.
All right, Michael. Anyway, so let's watch and see what Mirage does differently as it's their turn to attack on Cafe. And, well, the first thing that they're going to do that didn't happen for Nordik is they're going to bring a Thermite. So the hard breach potential is already stronger. This is a cocktail defense, so the upstairs bomb site, where an exothermic charge tends to work quite well on the wall leading into the freezer. The difference is, or the back storage room, bar storage, the problem with that is that there are 2 members of Nordik that are watching that angle, one of which is Bozak the Smoke, and the other happens to be the Wamai of Storms, and they're going to continue to sit on this post with both having access to a deployable shield. In fact, the Smoke is now actually subbed out, and it's Lackey playing that angle. The Smoke was doing the setup earlier on. One exothermic charge will go onto the wall underneath Red Hatch. The Smoke being played on White Stairs can smoke all the way to the pixel spot where Wamai is. This is a very strong angle to hold, and is essentially, Michael, a beachhead that Mirage will have to tackle first.
And they've got a good chance of doing that, though, as you can see, they've already pushed up quite close. There's a lot of gadgets yet to deal with those stuns, clearing them out so they can push onto Pixel. Storms is deciding to stay on this position, and Lackey has his shield still in play. So both of these players will just hold firm. The nade, followed up by Quartz's push, will result in a double kill for Quartz. Using that G8 to great effect, holding the angle on Cocktail, almost gets the third kill, but comes off the angle at the wrong time. Bozak playing by the white staircase is going to be integral to the outcome of this round. If he can hold on to that white hallway, he can alleviate a lot of pressure for his teammates. But because of that bathroom rotation, there's going to be a lot of options for the attack. S4, nice angle onto Loading, who was trying to vault through that bathroom wall. Bozak gets Quartz as well, so suddenly a 5v3 turned into a 3v3 with only 30 seconds left for Mirage to execute. Being a little bit cautious here, trying to get rid of the Evil Eye first. There's nothing they can do to actually accomplish that, though, as they've used up all of the Ash charges. 2 Evil Eyes on default plant means the odds of a plant by default are slim to none with only 15 seconds left. And again, there's nothing the attack can do about those right now. So the push comes into back bar storage, the call is made, and it so far is working out well as Silent takes down Skies. A second for Silent and a third. Huge round from Silent. Right time, right place. Well-placed shots as well. And Mirage will take the round against what seemed like bad odds.
Yeah, I can't believe they managed to turn that one around. I saw when the IQ got in onto the podium by Piano that there was obviously some lack of intel going towards Nordik because they should have been able to call that one out. The Ash literally just sprints on in and just takes full advantage of the fact that there is evidently more than one blind spot presented from Nordik. That's not where you want to find the attackers at all. Behind enemy lines, not great. In this particular case, Nordik loses 2 people very quickly to the Ash that rushes in, and then the chaos that's been sowed by the fact that Mirage exploited your weakness allows the rest of Nordik to just completely collapse in on itself. And that was with, obviously, Mirage having a numbers advantage to start with. Bar Cocktail has a couple ways that you can take full advantage of the immense amount of utility that attackers can bring to counter a Wamae, Jaeger, etc. And teams don't seem like they're the most comfortable with being able to hold Bar Cocktail like the way they were. This is why earlier in this match, Michael, we hinted at the fact, or rather, not hinted at, but outright stated, teams don't go to Bar Cocktail with the same, I guess, propensity that they used to.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that after losing it, Nordik is not going to bother to try it again. They're instead going to go downstairs to Bakery and hope for better straights now.
5 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see if they can manage that down in kitchen. But, looks like it's going to be, the confrontations are going to start upstairs. Got a pretty heavy roam on the top floor right now from Nordik. They, didn't do this last time. Or no, this is actually their first attempt at kitchen. Let me correct myself. Mirage were not doing this when they were going to kitchen. They were letting top floor go for free to their opponents. Nordik not keen on following in those footsteps. I think they probably read something from their own attacking side. They were like, yeah, it's too easy for us to clear upstairs. We shouldn't make it that easy for them. That's, I think, a good call there from Nordik. But Mirage has got an entirely different philosophy for this attack, entirely different strategy. They want to go straight up for prep and bakery. They don't seem to care about clearing out the top 4. Now, this could work against them, actually, pretty drastically, because if the roamers above are allowed to apply pressure through pre-made holes in the floor / ceiling, and yeah, those holes exist right now. You can see Lackey looking through them. If he's allowed to persist here, he will be able to single-handedly stop the push in through Bakery. It's a really powerful position. So the fact that Mirage is not putting in the time to clear out that top floor, at least not yet, is a little bit worrisome. Now, luckily for them, they've still got enough time to start it up late, but it's going to be pretty dangerous as you've got a direct confrontation here from Storms.
Position of the Nomad given away by that air jab going out, so Storms can prey upon this if he wants, but I think that Zilchi is aware of the spot being played on the stairs, so he falls off and regroups with the IQ of Quartz as they're out on the balcony. It's been half of the round, and this is a deadly angle from Lackey. I assume the teams are aware of this. Maybe the Ash is not, I'm not entirely certain, but if you try to go through prep, you're going to be gunned down quite quickly. 3 members of Mirage now inside a bakery watching as there's Flynn throwing a drone and then immediately going in to try and find intel, and, well, it gets spotted right away from Bozak, who just picks away at it, and he's going to sit on top of the ADS. But there's one more flash that can go in, and Bozak will army crawl his way out of it as a grenade goes off elsewhere. That was the Mozzie playing on red stairs, who takes full advantage of the fact that Quartz doesn't know that Mozzie is playing there, and down he goes. So the opening pick goes in favor of Nordik. 45 seconds, and Mirage has aligned themselves over by Bakery, and another from Storms. This one on the Zilchi. Bozak gets in on the fun, and it looks like it's going to be very quickly a flawless round. We've seen them on this bomb site time and time again, leaving the Ash, to do some damage, and Silent was great. He picks up another, but gets traded out by Bozak. Everybody from Nordik swarms on in, and no match point for Mirage. It's stopped from now, prevented in its tracks. The round goes in favor of Nordik.
Alrighty, so as we suspected it might be possible for the defense to start to ramp up for Nordik, it starts happening. It took them 2 rounds to get here, but at least they're here. Now, the one thing that is scary is that Nordik will still be on the precipice of match point for the remaining defensive rounds, so even a little bit of a slip will result in Mirage getting to that match point, which is very scary. It is going to put more pressure on the shoulders of Nordik, but at least they know they can defend Kitchen well. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to correct their bar mistakes? Because the last time we saw bar held out by Nordik, they set up a double shield setup by the pixel spot, one in pixel itself, one by the bathroom. That was completely destroyed by Mirage's attack, specifically Quartz. That's where he got his 2 kills that he has right now as he entered in on the white hallway. And then following that, we got the 3 kills from Silent as he pushed into Cocktail. Now, those 2 key moments could have gone very different ways. If both of those players were shut down, if Nordik were ready to receive those players, had their guns up, and were just, I don't know, paying attention to the angles that were being pushed at the right moment, then we probably would have seen a very different result. And now that tells me that Nordik certainly can defend this bomb site. And I think there's a good chance that they're going to be able to turn this one around, get a different result, bring us to the 5-4, and get this match ever closer to, well, potentially overtime.
All right, well, this is very familiar as to what we're seeing here. What team was it that I remember seeing at Invitational that ran this?
I mean, a lot of them did.
They did, but there was one in particular that I remember stuck out quite well. It was one of the first times that we'd seen it. It was either the
Let me check.
half season of Pro League or right before that, or I'm not entirely sure. Anyway,
I'll try to remember.
Essentially what you do is you're going to be playing very aggressively off of Pixel. There was a Jaeger there before. Now instead it's going to be a Wamai who's going to just try and deny any of those gadgets that get tossed on in. You're not going to be shooting anything because it's going to be immediately grabbed. And there one of the goes. The Magnet doing great work and playing around the strength of these deployable shields as the Wamai still waiting, but also the Jaeger right next to him. So this is very similar to 2 rounds ago that we saw this cocktail defense that Mirage had won, taking it away from Nordik. So they'll play by the bench. That's an early pick for Skies with 1 minute and 20 seconds gone. Say goodbye to Quartz. That's not who you want to lose. The IQ is gone, and there's some respect being paid from Quartz with a nice shot in the chat. Bozak has been downed. He took a bunch of damage earlier on, maybe trying to escape through the hatch, but his leg spotted and finished off by Silent. As right next to him, there goes the exothermic charge, and not an ideal time for you to be on your drone. You might want to get off that, fella, because you don't want to be gunned down through the opening that's been created should somebody from Nordik get really aggressive.
Now, key to this round right now is there's only a minute left, and they... Oh! What a shot from Silent! I was about to say they haven't taken Pixel Spot yet,
Oh
but
my goodness.
Storm peeks into the angle and sacrifices his life. Now it's just Lackey, and he's only got the bathroom shield. This is going to be difficult for him. He's trying to line up an angle of his own, but he can't get it. He'll fall back and be downed. S4 trying to support, but he's probably going to have to fall back now as loading has gotten close to that white hallway. S4 still holding the angle, deep in white, and he could die easily here, and he will. There's another one for loading. I'm not sure what S4 was thinking there. Now it's all on Skies to avoid this match point, but it doesn't seem likely. He does have the Alda at the very least, and he'll do some damage to loading. Possibly Flynn, whomever. Continues to work off of the marks from his teammates. Pre-firing, well, not pre-firing, laying in shots onto default plant. Can't fight that pixel angle, though. And he'll drop. Interesting choice there from Skies. Not sure if that was intentional, if he just failed to make the cross. He can do some damage on the player on default, but he chooses not to. He probably still has information on that. I'm surprised. I guess he's saving KD. All right, so he's giving his team some time to think about what to do in the next round, saving his KD. 2 birds, 1 stone What are we going to do to get us away from this being a 2-1 favor Mirage? They still have to think about it. It is match point now, so all the pressure certainly on Nordik. The fact that they've proven to be so uncomfortable on this top floor is really bad. They're gonna have to try some different sites, and honestly, I don't think Nordik are prepared for that.
Bomb defused. Attackers win.
This is going to be a tough go for them, as indeed the round goes and all but one round away from the map going in favor of Mirage, looking to be the very first team in Canada Division history to win their match. Obviously, we do one match for the Canada Division every week, so next Friday we'll have to wait for the next round, which is the North versus Squires. And the winner of that will play the winner of this matchup. And then as we go through all of it, the winner of the entire Canada Division through this stage will then go and play up against some of the US Division teams for a spot at the Major coming up at the end of the summer. So that's just something to keep in mind. There is a potential Major spot on the line here for whichever team ends up coming out on top of this division. Anyway. Mirage was able to win on Cocktail twice. The only defensive bomb site that was a victory for Nordik was on Kitchen down below. They obviously can't go back there yet. They can go back there at the end of this round, but instead they're going to go to Reading on that second floor.
That is the right call, in my opinion. Once again, I don't think that top floor was working out well for Nordik. Now, the really precarious part of this decision is, I mean, this isn't necessarily going to be a good site for Nordik either. We don't know. We haven't seen them go here yet. They've been constantly juggling between Kitchen and top floor. Kitchen worked out fine. Top floor, not so much.
10 seconds to insert.
Is Nordik going to be comfortable here? The fact that they went to top floor for their third bomb site instead of already starting off and Reading tells me that maybe Nordik aren't really that keen at going to this bomb site, and that's dangerous. We'll see, though. It's not done yet. Top floor hold here for Nordik to try and slow down that roam clear, try and slow down the round as a whole, the vertical pressure. Mirage is going to have to contest with that before they get anything really going. You know, interesting thing about this defense is it often is all pushed to the far east side of the building, where you'll have the majority of your defenders there. One of the ways that players, or defenders, I should say, on this site try to alleviate that kind of stack-up thing where you have everyone all stacked up on the east side is roaming downstairs on the bottom floor, because it is not very often cleared by the attack, and you can usually get some just late pressure from the flank. Bozak will be the first casualty to this round, and there goes your mute, and one of your C4s just eliminated because for some reason he was in the fireplace when an enemy was in train. Interesting.
You got to kick yourself on that one, because you don't want to be dying early, especially when it's so crucial, given that it's match point. The Jaeger gets spotted and almost Lackey, or Lackey almost dies as well, and there you go. I don't know what Nordik is doing. They're playing very fast and very loose and getting caught every single time. Now, Bozak and Lackey are both down as well. My, this is a rough start to the round, and I say start because we're not even halfway through it just yet.
Yeah, it's looking pretty desperate for Nordik at this point. And as Flynn opens up the hole into A, that's going to be a rotation, or would be if not for the mute jammer. A rotation into A, but they don't need to rush this. As you mentioned, Parker, lots of time. Ash Charge is a missed. Silent needs a more aggressive angle to hit that. And so the wall will not get opened up. Though Storms is going to get loading from above. I believe he's still roaming above. As loading is eliminated, that's going to actually open up the flank here. Storm's doing his best to apply pressure from red, distract his opponent, and hold on to pillars, which he's doing a pretty good job of so far. Mark's coming out as well, spotting the attacker in pillars. Things might actually be salvageable here for Nordik.
It's doable now that you've taken down loading, but we'll wait and see. But things that are winnable, we said, are not necessarily so. There goes Skies. Removed from action. Storms versus S4, and now S4 falls. There's one kill to find for Mirage, and the victory for Nordik might just indeed be that, a Mirage. Mirage takes the series 2-1. GG's in the chat. Your first team ever to win a match in Canada Division. It's Mirage.
Well done to Mirage. I think for many people, the favorite team coming into this match, there's Flynn on your screen, the player himself who managed to take this one with his team. And major props to them. It took a long time. It was a grind, but they got there in the end.
An impressive win for Mirage, and we needed a lot of rounds in this matchup. If you go back, it took 10 rounds here on Cafe, it took 10 rounds on Villa, it took 15 rounds on Oregon. That is a long match. 3 hours and 17 minutes since we went live. Still shorter than yesterday's matchup, though, given the delays that we had, but still an impressive outing from both of these teams, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, certainly. I'm definitely happy to see such a debut by the Canadian division. But that's it for us for now. We'll go to a break before we come back.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Kixon and Taro, and what a map 3! Mirage taking it 7-3 on Cafe, taking the series. Kixon and Taro, that was a grind there. What did you think Mirage did well to secure that win?
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that it was an overall team effort. You had a lot of players in particular that stood out to me. Flynn was a huge backbone in terms of support, not loading. Massive performance on support and on fragging in the first map. Quartz, oh my gosh, you just can't stop talking about him. He is such a stellar player, and he showed that throughout the entire series. But right at the end, Silent in particular was a big reason why I think Mirage was able to lock out Cafe. He played a huge role, and I believe was the top frag for his team. A lot of key moments where Silent was able to bring it home. It's the diversity of their roster and the fact that everyone can contribute.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the depth that we saw come out. Silent and Zilchi were the two that I honestly felt were, I would say, the two lower fraggers on the team. They really didn't add much to the direct scoreboard. They helped their utility-wise, and they were able to pick it up at the end, and Silent in particular, I think, is a good example of that. But really, I think that, I talked about it before we got into the third map, Nordik needed a great game from every single person on that team. And I don't want to call them out, but they didn't get Herculean efforts. They didn't get individual efforts from a lot of the players they needed. And whether that just comes down to strategy or that comes down to, you know, Mirage just being able to pick apart what was brought from Nordik, that's going to be something that I'm going to leave to the experts to discuss on social media.
And thank you so much, gentlemen, for that analysis. But we do have Flynn on deck. Flynn, can you hear us?
Yes, Jackie, I can. I was just coordinating with production about being able to hear you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Congratulations on your victory. I want to start at the beginning here. So map 1 was a dogfight. How did you all rebound from that loss? What did you say to your team moving into map 2? Because y'all dominated on map 2.
Yeah, Oregon. Oregon was fun. Oregon was fun. A lot of early mistakes, a lot of rust to wear off. So, map 1, yeah, Oregon, you know, that's one to forget. But heading into the break, you know, we were a bit down on ourselves, saying, you know, we could have had that, you know, 6-3, whatever. But, you know, we just keep going in with a mental reset every single round. It's a new day, it's a new round, it's a new game. Just keep doing your thing.
Let's talk about map 3. So winning that first attack was huge in my opinion. Do you think that was a turning point for your team?
Yeah, honestly, it was really nice to be able to just keep the momentum going between the halves. We saw that a lot, is as soon as the half swapped, we lost a little bit of our momentum, just having to reset on what we were doing from attack to defense. So it was nice to be able to just keep rolling on through and keep things going. And I think that's part of what slowed us down on Oregon, too, was just not cleaning up the rounds we should have had pretty early on in that second half. So, you know, it's mistakes learned, it's lessons learned, and on to the next game.
And a fun question for you here. Intero told us that you have atypical positioning when it comes to your keyboard and mouse. Unfortunately, we can't really see that with this camera angle, but I just wanted to see if it was true or not.
You want to see it? Okay, sure. So,
I do. Show us.
All right. So here's the webcam going down. So basically, my keyboard is all the way to the left, tilted forward, and then my mouse arm is like this, horizontal, and then yeah, it's something I take a lot of flack for.
Well, it worked today. That's all I'm going to say about that. And congrats on your victory, Flynn. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me, Jackie.
Thanks so much, Flynn. Of course, congrats again. And let's check back in with our casters. Kix and Intero, you were right. I kind of low-key didn't believe you. I was like, there's no way. I was like trying to figure that out in my head, but hey, it worked for them today, right? No, I'm not calling you a liar. I was just trying to visually see that, and I was like moving my own keyboard and mouse, and I was like, that's not possible. But he just showed us, so there you go. Yeah, I'm like, how? Anyway, I'm not one to talk about strategy when it comes to keyboard and mouse positioning, but yeah, what did you all think about his interview? I mean, he seemed really chipper. Obviously, like you said, day 1 of the Canada division, so that's a huge win for them.
Certainly a huge win for them. Yeah, I think that going into this, a lot of people had high expectations for Mirage, given the notoriety of some of the players on that team. I think Flynn is actually one of the more well-known players overall who's coming into the Canadian division, along with, again, as mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, no loading in Zilchi, Zilchi has like prior Pro League experience way back when. So yeah, high expectations. I think the team delivered. I think Mirage delivered. I'm also pleasantly surprised with Nordik. It's always cool to see a team like that come out and really prove their worth. They've got a lot of stuff to work on. They looked really solid through that match.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a great. Oh, sorry,
I mean, you asked our opinion, Jackie, and then Kix took my opinion.
Okay, sorry. Sound off, Intero, sound off.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say I don't really have much to add from the strategic perspective, but man, it is nice to hear that sweet caramel-like voice of Flynn just pour into my ears. God. So good.
He does have a very nice voice. All right, but we do have to get to our Corsair play of the day, and both of you are excited about this one. A lot of good gunfights, but we are talking about Mirage's Quartz getting it today with his 1v3 on Villa. Let's take a look.
Defenders have disabled the bomb diffuser.
That was probably the most solid round that we saw out of Quartz through the entire series. An excellent clutch for him, and his ability to lock that round for his team really did change the pace of the map as a whole. I think plays like these are the reason why Mirage was able to take that map and thus the series. You gotta give massive props to Quartz for that.
And really quickly, if we can just break down the bracket again. And Tara, do you mind doing that for us?
Happily, as it'll show on your screen in just a moment here. What's at stake is not just to be the best team in Canada, but additionally a shot at qualifying for the major. So next Friday, we'll be back with Squires versus the North. They'll be playing to see who plays Mirage and who plays Nordik. And then the loser will go on and, well, Nordik awaits the loser of the Squires, the North match. And like we said, not only do you get to be the kings of Canada, but you also get to compete against the US division for the spot at the major that's coming up at the end of the summer. So there's a lot on the line for these teams, not just money, not just bragging rights, but further competition and lots of glory.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, and a great battle for day one of the Canada division, but our day is not over yet. We have the Challenger League up next. We'll be right back.